hit subscribe. Subscribe to my guy, Uncle D. Tell him Big Bass sent you.
Spurling. I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas, an advocate for black men, largely because I am a black man. I'm a black father. I have black sons. Hey, man, I do what I do.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome, 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 everybody. Shout out to my man 3138. Big up to you. Big shout out to all the other folks in the chat room, man. It's good to be in here. I want you all to make sure you hit the #1 button as you come in. Make sure you smash the like button, man. I need everybody to go about the business at hand, and that is helping me get to where I'm trying to get. And that is going to be to 100,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel at this point, it's some pressure on everybody in here because this is going to be a good one. Look, there's this white TikToker on YouTube, and she decided to analyze what she calls hood prom, videos as well as black teenagers getting ready for one of the biggest nights in their lives. Big shout out to Melissina Blayton. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being the first person to contribute to the super chat. If you could, I'm gonna say your name. If you contribute to the super chat, I'm gonna say your name. Okay. You don't owe me anything. I don't tell anybody to give me any money. I'm saying, but if you contribute to the super chat, you are the VIP. So shout out to you, Melissina. You are the first VIP of this occasion. So, but anyway, back to the hood. Back to the hood prom. So you got this white chick on TikToker, and instead of just saying she doesn't like it, she dressed it up like it's some social science or something like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and break that down the way only the Blizzard King can. She's claiming that these kids are spending tens of thousands of dollars on prom instead of preparing for college, as if you can only do one at a time. She says prom for black girls, right? So she bringing us in it, right? All in our business. Somebody type our business in the chat room. She says black girls, this prom is basically a stand-in for marriage, because in her little small insignificant opinion, there's no way they're going to get married ever. And so this is just basically and that all of this ties to the whole thing about what she calls the single baby mama culture, that apparently, according to her, is only a black problem, only a black people problem. And let's be clear about what it is. This is not an analysis, and it's definitely not concerned. She don't give a damn about black people, and then you can tell I said it. And it's not even curiosity. Okay, that it's a racial narrative being pushed with a straight face, because what she's really doing is taking a moment of visibility, young black people looking good, celebrating themselves, showing pride, and reframing it as dysfunction. That's all she's doing. And she's not asking questions. She's not assigning motives. She's telling you what our children are doing, and what these kids are doing, and what she thinks they should be doing, without knowing them, without knowing any data, and without any accountability. And here's where it gets even more revealing. The same woman, the same little white woman, she's making an argument. She was raised by a single mother. She don't know where her daddy is. Okay? But somehow in her world, single motherhood explains what's wrong with the black community, but has nothing to do with her. Okay? And that's a double standard. It's not a mistake. That's the logic working exactly how it's supposed to, because this kind of thinking isn't about prom. It's not about money. It's not even about education. It's about maintaining a worldview where black expression is always suspect and black celebration is always excessive, always. And Black life is always explained as a problem while everything else gets the benefit of nuance. And that's how you end up with people who genuinely believe they're being objective while repeating the same recycled ideas that have been used for decades, if not centuries, to justify inequality and to prop up a quiet sense of superiority. And so this is what we're going to call out today. All right. Now, of course, as always, I have some videos and I will do my best not to yell at the screen. You know, I have an issue with that. I know y'all know. And sometimes y'all actually like when I yell at the screen. But I'm going to do my very best because we got some Black people here who are yelling at the screen for me. And so it saves me the opportunity of not having to do it. I'm going to go ahead and let these videos play, and you all can check them out. And she's not the only one that's chiming in. All right. But you all check this out. Hit the #1 button if you can hear it clearly.
Is hood prom and baby mama culture are like this. You can't have one without the other. You can't have hood prom or the baby shower stuff or the gender reveals or anything like that without baby mama culture, because the reason why the dresses are so extravagant in the cars and the show and the presentation is because this is the closest these girls will ever get to being a bride. In the Black community, I'm sorry to say it, actually no I'm not, because it's the truth, especially in lower income households, there's not as much of an emphasis on family anymore. These kids aren't getting married. They're going to be baby mamas and baby daddies, so they're never going to have a wedding. These girls are never going to walk down the aisle. Some of them probably will.
Hood things exist is because the Black community does not put enough emphasis on having the father in the home. And please know, I'm fatherless myself. This is a pot calling the kettle black situation here. I call it like I said.
Y'all see how quiet I am? Y'all see how quiet I haven't said anything? Okay, because I would stop it right here and say, she just said she doesn't have a father herself. But I'm not going to say that because you all told me not to interrupt people on the videos as if you can't go to TikTok yourself and pull these. But I'm going to go ahead and let her finish. Shout out to Passport King. Let's let her finish. I'm not going to interrupt. I'm going to let her talk.
On not having children before marriage. Put an emphasis on raising happy, healthy communities and making sure a child has 2 happy, healthy parents and 1 happy, healthy home. Because like I said in my original videos, I don't have a dad myself. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to have daddy issues, have no race, and I can see daddy issues from a mile away. I can see the lack of self-worth in these girls, the lack of self-esteem, the thinking that every man is going to leave you just like my dad did. I know it because I've lived it. I know it when I see it, and I don't want that for literally.
So I tried.
See how quiet I was? I didn't say anything. I didn't say a word. Okay? So I'm going to let this young lady, since y'all want to hear the video more than me, I'm going to let this lady address her first, and maybe I'll chime in. Maybe I won't, because you all told me not to say nothing. I'm not going to say nothing.
To give y'all the benefit of the doubt, but like, why? That's my genuine question. Why? Like, why do you care? My family didn't do the whole big prom thing, and it's just simply because there's more to celebrate. I was going to college. There were so many other things that were happening and that will happen. And I got everything I wanted for prom. But most parents are giving their kids what they ask for, what they want. Now, you ask why we celebrate and why we go so hard is because you may not get to celebrate the next.
Well, I'm going to disagree with her. And I'm a little bit more astute on the culture. Okay, but I'm going to let her finish, but I'm not interrupting. I'm letting people talk. See, I would love to just jump in here and fill this up with actual facts, but I'm not, because you all have told me not to say anything. So I'm going to be quiet. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to be quiet on my own broadcast. That's what I'm doing.
And I know y'all don't like when we talk about slavery, but there was a time when our people were enslaved. And then there was a time when our people were discriminated against and attacked and then sminched. Like, there was so many times where we've been attacked as a marginalized group where you celebrate when you have the moments to. I don't think you get it. And you saw she went on her rant and she started talking about her dad. Girl, you got some more healing to do. As someone that's been in therapy for 10 years off and on, 11 years actually off and on, yeah, you got some work to do, baby. You bleeding on people that didn't cut you. And I'm sorry for that. I am very, very sorry that you experienced that. But I'm going to go ahead and let you know, my dad, he is very much present in my life. If I wanted to be married, I could, as most black women. Like, we would tell you that if we really wanted to be married, we absolutely could. Our standards are raising. So I appreciate your advice, unsolicited, unnecessary, but I appreciate it. What you're telling us to do, we're already doing, baby. I do wish you healing, and I wish you to, you know, let go of that hurt that your dad gave. So when the man finally does enter that you're waiting for, you can truly appreciate him so you don't get a divorce in 3 years. Love you. Bye.
Yeah, proud of me. Proud of me. I didn't say nothing the whole video. I let it just roll. I let it roll, baby. Got this fresh new haircut. I'm quiet. That's what you wanted, huh? You don't want me to say nothing. I'm going to let it, okay. All right, now, do y'all like that, or would you all like me to interrupt and cut these people off when they get to filling the airways with this foolishness? Let me know. Let me know what you want me to do, okay? Because I can be quiet, all right? I can just shut right up and not say a word, all right? Now, I think after listening to that, you all do want me to interrupt a little bit, chime in, have something to say, right? Okay. That's what I thought. Somebody said, please interrupt. All right, so let's end that conversation about what y'all want and don't want me to do, okay? Because clearly you didn't come here to just listen to some people you can hear on TikTok. So if I see in the comments section, let the video play, I'm going to remind you of what it's like when I don't speak. Now let's continue.
Which means one thing and one thing only, hood prom. And I think what a lot of people fail to realize is hood prom and baby mama culture are like this.
Methany.
Now, how many baby mamas are there in the black community, and how many baby mamas are there in the white community? How many baby mamas are there in the Latin community? Have we asked that question? Because it seems like you just impugning this to black culture, but it seems to me there's some other cultures with some baby mama issues that we're not talking about. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, okay? Perhaps we should look into some other cultures, because there's some other cultures around the world that we may not have ever addressed. Did you know, for instance, that there's a problem here in this?
As a single mother problem no one talks about. Here's why. In Japan, when parents divorce, only one parent can have legal custody. Joint custody doesn't.
So you said there's a problem in Japanese culture? You mean the great Japanese? Are you kidding me? The people in Japan have a single mother? Did we hear that right? Let's continue listening.
Exist. And in about 90% of cases, that custody goes to the mother. Once the divorce is finalized, fathers often lose any guaranteed right to see their children.
The fathers lose any guaranteed right to see their children in Japan. But I thought we look up to Japan. I thought we liked Japan. All you white folks, why don't you ever talk about how Japan has a single mother issue? Y'all travel over there. Why not speak about that? Let's keep listening.
Isn't automatic, and it's rarely enforced. Child support isn't strongly enforced either, so many mothers receive little or nothing.
Child support isn't strongly enforced, so single mothers receive little or nothing. So what you're telling me is you got a bunch of single mothers over there and a bunch of deadbeat dads. That's what you're telling me. Well, why is it that we don't speak about that issue at all? Why is it that black society, or here in the United States, it's always pathology? I'm just saying, I'm just pointing out, these are videos on the internet. Y'all can see it for yourself. Okay, it's not just me. I'm gonna let you go ahead.
That's why so many single mothers in Japan end up raising children completely alone, working multiple jobs just to survive. So when people ask why Japan has so many single mothers, it's not chaos or culture, it's the system itself. And that's why
it's the system itself. Peculiar. That is mighty peculiar. Interesting. I wonder if there's any other place on the planet other than the United States of America where they have single mother issues that they're not really talking about, because it seemed to me like I thought black women in America were the only ones that have single mother issues. But we'll deal with that another day. Let's go ahead and move on to the next person who was about to address this young lady. Shout out to Passport King. Let's keep going.
Please. Not today. Rent-free, no utilities, oceanfront view. That is the residency that black people take up in y'all smooth as satin bird bitch brains. Because why does she go on to say in her video that the reason prom is so extravagant in the black community with the big dresses and cars and shows is because that's the closest those girls her words, not mine,
That's her
will
word.
ever be to getting married, and most of them will end up being baby mamas and baby daddies. Which is quite an interesting use of free will because, and I'm gonna hold your hand with a napkin in between when I say this, I've never looked at children going to a high school dance and connected them in any way to being brides or mothers. But the fact that you're a Trump supporter, so you can look at literal children and think of them as brides or mothers? Yeah, unfortunately, that math is mathin'. And speaking of mothers, let's talk about yours. Because Streets is saying you and your mom have different last names.
Ooh. So your mama was a baby mama. That's what you, little Methane's mama was a baby mama. Damn.
Yikes on bikes.
Yeah.
And this is why.
So what I want you all to understand is we're dealing with more than just rationale. Okay, we're dealing with more than just reason. This is not about reason and rationale. If she herself is the product of a baby mama, what does that tell you? I'm not talking about the sister on here.
Always say every accusation is a confession. Because your mother went to bed unwed, had you, and now being the person that isn't worth the fuck it took to make them that you are, you're here attempting to make it Black children's fault.
Tell them what it is. It's a legal term for a child born out of wedlock. And you can go back to the English tradition. Actually, it goes back to William the Conqueror, formerly known as William the Bastard. Now, William's mother was some sort of tanner, or dad maybe was her father was like a funeral home keeper, and his father was royalty. His mother was a funeral home keeper. So back then, that would be considered a bastard when they are of mixed social status. So what you're saying is that this young lady who's complaining about Black people in the English tradition, she would be a bastard. Okay, she's talking about Black people having children out of wedlock, but she herself, in the legal term under the English system, would be a bastard. Somebody type bastard in the chat room, because that's the legal term that we're referring to, bastard. She herself is a bastard. That's the legal term.
Be so for real.
Go ahead,
like Black children are over here minding their business, eating prom up as they do every year. And here you go seething, mad at them because your mom doesn't have a husband. That math ain't mathin'.
It's mathing.
Maybe
it's mathing if you throw a little you throw a little anti-Black bigotry and racism in there, baby. That's what you got to do. You got to understand who you're dealing with. Let's keep listening. White people have something to say to it.
Apology to Black women and girls. I'm sorry you can't handle the fucking truth. But quite frankly, that's not my problem. The reality.
She said she's sorry y'all can't handle the truth. That Black women, she said she's sorry y'all can't handle the effing truth. Look at that.
Go ahead. The situation is the reason why hood prom and hood baby showers and all of these hood things exist is because the Black community does not put enough emphasis on having a father in the home. And please know, I'm fatherless myself. This is a pot calling the kettle black situation here.
Clearly, you don't even have, you a bastard. I mean, that's the legal term. That's why the only reason I'm saying bastard is because in preparation for this broadcast, I did some research on William the Conqueror, who was commonly known as William the Bastard, because his father was royalty, his mother was not. Her daddy operated a funeral home, and so William the Bastard comes from mixed status, but his parents weren't married. So that's why I'm referring to them. That's where the term bastard came from. Okay, and so she herself admitted that she was a bastard. And now she's out here complaining about Black people who she has no idea who they are, but she's admitted, and that she was born outside of wedlock, just like William the Conqueror or William the Bastard. And therefore she too is a bastard. And yet she has the nerve to, be judgmental. So let's hear what this white woman has to say to this young lady.
First things first, Sasha, it's not hood prom. It's either prom or it's Met Gala prom. Second off, why are you so fucking obsessed with a community that you don't even belong to?
Watch your language.
You say you went through therapy to get over your daddy issues because your father left you, but it sounds like you need to go right back because you've developed a whole new set of issues. Just because a group of teenagers want to dress up and celebrate an event with their partner doesn't mean they are destined for a life raising a child without the father being involved. involved.
That's right.
And I don't know about you, but black women are the most educated group of individuals within this entire country. So to me, it sounds like they.
Now, I'm going to push back on this. Not the most educated. It's definitely the most enrolled. So the sisters are trying, but, you know, life happens. But let's get education. The point is, education is very important to Black people. It always has been, especially since we have been denied formal education for centuries in this country. But we're gonna let her finish. We're gonna not let them placate to us with these fabrications. We're gonna speak the truth on this page. Let's keep
They're
listening.
doing just fine. Okay, I know they're doing a lot better than white women are doing right now because white women have got to get their shit together.
Yes.
No, I will.
It took DEI from white women. White women were the primary beneficiaries of DEI. They want white women back in the kitchen, pregnant, giving birth to little Timmys and Bobs right now. That's what they want. Timmys, Bobs, Catherines, and Karens. Let's keep listening.
I'll say this. I live in a neighborhood that's about 50% white and 50% Black and Latino families. And my family is probably the one off because, you see, my son's biological father doesn't live with us. He wasn't present at the birth and he hasn't been around for many.
So she's saying that she had a little white. This is okay. So you the second white woman that said that you weren't married when you had a baby out of wedlock. Okay, so I see a trend. Somebody type trend in the chat room.
Many years. You know what? He's not Black. He's a white Republican. It sounds like
she's telling us that white Republican Zaddy knocked her up and left. Ain't that something? Let's keep listening. Somebody type trend in the chat room.
you're seeing what you want to see and you're just pushing lies that you have been told your whole life. Maybe just let these teenagers have fun and enjoy looking at their fabulous outfits.
Maybe she's good. She's not gonna follow your advice, baby. You know she's not gonna follow your advice. She's that cousin. Okay, she's that cousin. Let's move on. Let's look at one more here. Check this out now. You all know this gentleman.
It's prom season, and that means hood proms. Just saw my first one. This girl had 3 girls dancing in front of her. Whole routine. She walked out of the house. It's the greatest time of the year.
We are not doing that. Okay. We are not doing that. Not on my watch.
Fair use.
You got me sitting up in my bed. I was in my bed minding my business, just scrolling. And when I saw the hood prom, so because it's prom season for black culture, it's hood prom?
Yes.
That's what that means?
Yes, it does.
Not on my watch, y'all. Not on my watch. Let's fix that right now. That's not hood prom. Okay? That's black prom culture. Let's get it correct.
She's actually accurate, but go ahead. Let's let Brother Anton finish. I know you have some Anton Daniels fans here, and I think the brother's well-spoken and articulate, but we're going to let him finish.
Say it with me. Black prom culture.
As she sits here in front of her bonnet, ghetto as hell, getting easily offended, and then now they want to change the narrative. No, y'all said it was hood prom, and so now you can't change it to be something that is not because you're uncomfortable with how other people perceive it.
Not hood prom, okay?
Now, see, here's the thing. The term hood has become synonymous with black culture, or hood has become synonymous with black. So when black people say hood, it's different than when white people say hood. White people mean it in a derogatory form. It's no different than when you say, and I don't say this, but when you say that, man, that's my boy right there. If a white dude said, hey, that's my boy over there, you're going to take it a whole lot different than if your homeboy you grew up with and played football with said, that's my boy, because it has a whole nother racial connotation associated with it. So us referring to it as hood prom is far different than white people referring to it as hood prom. It's not necessarily, there's 3 different meanings of a word, okay? I believe the illoquation, I forget the other term, the celloquation, and then and I forget the other term, but it's the actual meaning. It's the actual meaning of the word, what you mean by the word, and what the other person interprets as the word. So there's a difference in there, and that's why the language has to be carefully studied and understood. So there is a difference, but go ahead.
Because y'all are watching full productions, okay? Full productions, coordinated interests, custom gowns, luxury vehicles. We putting on a show because that's what we do, okay? That's what we do, okay? And y'all watch it, okay? That's not hood. That's influence, okay? Okay, put some respect on the name. You said it yourself. You wait for it and watch it every year. You sitting back and waiting for the show.
A lot of people don't know the difference between being laughed at and being laughed with.
And you love it. You love it. You said it yourself. But you still want to label it as a word that's meant to mean less than by calling it hood. You want to downplay it. Oh, this is hood. I seen y'all do this too much in my life. With the nails. The nails was ghetto. Next thing you know, y'all all with the nails and the lips and the ass. No.
That's an accurate statement. Remember when twerking was ghetto? Twerking was ghetto until Miley Cyrus started twerking on the MTV Awards, and then it became this new phenomenon. You all remember that?
No, y'all not doing this to prom culture, okay? We're not doing that. We're not doing that. So correct this shit right now. It's not hood prom. It's black prom culture.
No, baby, it's hood prom, and I'm okay with it being hood prom. I'd like some of y'all to invite me to some hood proms too, and some hood weddings and some hood cookouts, and let's go do some. Yes, somebody type hood. I'm okay. Embrace the culture. Don't run from it, because the minute you pathologize your own culture, they will then take it, steal it, reincorporate it, and make some money off of it. So no, keep it. It's just like the blues, just like jazz, et cetera, et cetera. So let's not walk away. It's like soul food, where we called it. It wasn't called soul food at first. Some of the old folk could tell you what it was called, but they didn't call it soul food back in the day. That was the repackaging of it. Let's keep listening.
Okay, and if you didn't know, now you know. Sick of y'all.
As a white girl, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Please don't cancel me if I'm not allowed to say this. Just like tell me nicely, and that's fine. I don't know all the rules. Okay, I just want to say it's hood prom season. I love hood prom season. I love it.
Okay, so I find that interesting. I want you all to tell me if it's hood prom, if that's hood prom season, then what is this called?
Which means one thing and one thing only.
Let me know what this is called. What is this? If that's hood prom season, what is it? These are Dorito bags right here out in front of the trailer home. Okay, I want y'all to take a look. I'm gonna let it play. All right, but if that's hood prom, what is this? Is this trailer park prom? Y'all tell me, what is this? I mean, I'm just saying, y'all, this is some recycled truck tires for a prom dress and a matching suit with some red, what are those little shoes called with the holes in the front? Mind you, these people had a 400-year head start. Look, what is this like? That is leather print, okay, and an aqua blue vest. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if that's hood prom, what is this? Okay, is this trailer? What is this? This is Walmart. I mean, come on now. Let's be honest. Let's get together now. I mean, what we doing? This somebody called it, this is duct tape prom? Huh? I mean, I'm saying. So let's be fair about it, family. Let's be fair. Let's get to I want them to explain to me.
Watch that shit on repeat. I save them and I go back and I rewatch them again at the end of the night. I love it.
Somebody type trailer park prom in the chat room.
I love how white people don't do that. We don't go all out. We don't have the music.
You don't what? You said white people don't do what? Hold on a minute. I don't think she saw my video. Can y'all tag her and tell her? She said white people don't do what? What do they not do? Now this is white people. Same prom. Those are Dorito bags. How many calories did she and her family have to consume to create this Dorito bag prom dress? You said white people don't do it. This is clearly a white woman. Can y'all, she looks white to me, ma'am. And you're telling me that y'all don't do that? Do y'all not? I'm looking at the same TikTok that you looking at. Did you not keep scrolling? Like, oh, damn. I mean, come on. It's still there. The internet is forever. Somebody type white people don't do that. White people don't do what? And here's another one. Okay, I don't even know what that is. That look at that. What do you mean white people don't do what? These are some blue-haired, blonde-haired, Irish, Italian. These are them. This is your people. These are your people. Okay, God bless them. They look beautiful. I'm happy for them. Love the kids. Want to see the kids shine and everything. But if you can't say white people
we don't have the people showing up videoing.
You can't. No, not from what I just saw. You can't be on Beyonce's internet with formerly known as Al Gore's internet, and tell us what white people don't do.
We don't have the money that we're so boring. We're so boring compared to you.
No, you're not boring. This right here, That right there, that's exciting right there. All of this is highly exciting. This is extravagant. Look at that, man. What if they showed up, man, at the prom? My man got the blue pot of blue pimp cane. This is white people doing what white. Hey, man, this is their version. This is the prom. This is the look right here. Who wouldn't want to? I'd pay to go see that. I'm coming through. Okay, I'm coming through. When I see this dress right here, man, I'm coming through with the salsa dip. You understand me? I'm coming. Hey, I'm going down. Like, where the Doritos at? Where the punch bowl at? It's going down. Okay, let's not run from it now. Don't run from your culture, white folks.
I love it.
You do?
That's my reality TV. So please keep, if you have one,
we will.
If you are in a hood prom, please.
Shout out to everybody enjoying their prom. All you young kids enjoying your prom, do your thing. Okay, Uncle D gonna put the stamp of approval on it. Okay,
please tag me so I can see it. I want to see all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap in.
What I think is that white people need to start minding their own business. That's what I think. That's honestly what I think. But we know they won't. And see, let me explain something else to you all. I want you to understand. I give a little deference to Africans and Caribbeans. You see, I try to explain to them what's going on. Same thing for the Latinos. I just try to explain to them what's going on. White people know what they're doing. Well, all you white people out here listening to me, I am not going to sit here and try to explain white supremacy racism to you. You already know you are the progenitors of white supremacy racism. Trying to explain white supremacy racism to white people is like trying to explain how to swim to a dolphin. They know how to do it. They're born in it. So I don't waste my time trying to explain our culture to white people. They know. They've dissected, they studied it, they read it. They know exactly what they're doing. They want to know how they feel. They can go to their family reunion and hang out with that uncle, that auntie, those parents that raised them, and it'll get reinforced, right? They know what they're doing. So I'm not explaining that to them. I'm doing this for the benefit of Black people. So you will stop being embarrassed of who you are. Hood is synonymous with Black. It is what it is. But anyway, let's go ahead and proceed and listen to more of this.
Whether subconsciously or consciously, that they're just going to become somebody's baby mama. So they're substituting their wedding with prom. And I've pissed off the Black community with saying that.
You ain't pissed off nobody, Methany. Nobody's angry with you. We just see you frustrated. Okay, you got that Nigerian hairline going on. You got those crooked teeth. You're unkept. Okay, you need some braces, baby girl. That's what you need to do. You need to focus on you. Stop worrying about Black people. You are fatherless. Okay, you are fatherless.
Put an emphasis on having the father in the home. Put an emphasis on not
Did your mama put an emphasis on having a father in the home, baby? Did your mama do it? Because she didn't do it. And there's a lot of other white women out there. And by the time I get finished with this, you all are going to be like, damn, it's an epidemic of white women out there pushing out babies with no
having
daddy.
Children before marriage. Put an emphasis on raising happy, healthy communities. Yeah. And making sure a child has two happy, healthy parents and one happy, healthy home. Because like I said in my original videos, I don't have a dad myself. I know what it's like.
We know you know. We know you know what it's like. And there's other people around the world that know what it's like also. Let me give you some more examples. Hit the number one button.
50% of babies in Puerto Rico are born to single mothers. And it's been over 50% for more than a decade. Now, let me clarify. When it comes to CDC,
did y'all hear that? 70% of babies born in Puerto Rico are born to single mothers. So you mean this is not just a Black American problem? My God. So the Japanese have an issue. And the Puerto Ricans
just means I'm married. Honestly, lots of couples just cohabitate, and that's really not uncommon in Puerto Rico or Latin America at large. Marriage rate in Puerto Rico, sharp drop, 30% in the last decade. See, the thing is, once you're living together and combining incomes, taxes, welfare benefits, even housing, everything can get recalculated and not for the better. It seems like the system itself is designed to disincentivize marriage, at least from a financial standpoint. So the big question is this: what problems does getting legally married solve that cohabitating or staying single doesn't resolve already?
Right. So is it about really getting married, or is it about having a steady mate in your house? And I'm pro-marriage. I want to see you get married. But if you have a man in the house if you have a man in the house, it seems to me like that's kind of the big deal, at least as far as the white people are concerned and the people in Puerto Rico, because we see what's happening to the people in Japan. They are just, pushing them out over there. And that's not the only thing. And here's something else I want to share with you all that you may not be aware of. Let me see if I can get this popped in there real quick. Are y'all having fun? Or we not? We ain't got to the good part yet. We ain't start really learning yet. You know what I'm saying? But I just thought, that was interesting. Take a listen to this.
Do to a woman is waste her time. For example, 50% of the women who made it to 30 years old and never had a kid for the rest of their life. And by 35, that's only 25%.
Yeah.
And I know women who dated throughout their 20s.
So what this gentleman is showing us is that there are less women having children anyway. So is the baby mama problem really the issue that we're dealing with here in America? I'm just saying.
Men wasted their time. And now they're having trouble finding another guy because congratulations, you're 30 or older. So I just think about this graph as I see videos on TikTok all the time about men and women, single dating, all this.
So I'm just pointing out some things. There's some mysteries out here that we need to resolve. I got another video I want to share with you. Actually, I think this is more to the point for the conversation that we're having today. Listen to this, family.
People having babies anymore. The total fertility rate of the United States continues to drop, but we're seeing some interesting trends among certain communities. African Americans have seen the biggest drop in fertility with -6%, and Hispanics are right behind them. And where it gets
what you're telling me is black people are having less children. I mean, if you would listen to the news, they would have you think that black folk are just out here reproducing, dropping kids off left and right everywhere. But we're actually having less children than we were having in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So what seems to be the problem?
Interesting is the white population in America is actually experiencing a slight uptrend in birth, enough to get the percentage change.
So white people are having more kids and black people are having less kids. Now all these people married, all these white people married, because it seems like white folks are pushing them out. Now can we confirm that all of these Matthews and Mathanies are having children? That's what we need to know.
Close to zero, but still not totally there. So the biggest question is, why isn't the black population in the United States wanting to have children anymore?
I'll probably give you a couple of reasons why, but let's go ahead and continue listening. We'll go back to hear what this astute young lady has to say about black, because we don't want to miss, we want to get every bit of what she has to say. Shout out to Mark.
Season, which means one thing and one thing only, hood prom. And I think what a lot of people fail to realize is hood prom and baby mama culture are like this. You can't have one without the other. You can't have hood prom or the baby shower stuff or the gender reveals or anything like that without baby mama culture. Because the reason why the dresses are so extravagant in the car.
Now, as I pointed out to you, it appears as though there's not a lot of black people. There's less black people actually having children. So what are you talking about? I mean, if less black people is less of a problem than what more white people having children, apparently y'all, when I get finished with you all, y'all are dropping them off, and a lot of y'all aren't married. Let's keep
show and the presentation is because this is the closest these girls will ever get to being a bride. In the black community, I'm sorry to say it, actually, no, I'm not, because it's the truth, especially in lower income households.
Just say you're racist and you hate black.
Now, when you say lower income houses, whose houses are you talking about? I don't want to get off subject a little bit, but since we're talking about money, somebody type money in the chat room. Let's look at this real quick.
Black Americans who make six figures. Ooh.
The percentage of black Americans who make six figures. Let's
percentage of black Americans who make six figures. Ooh.
Okay.
Pull up. Oh, let me say this. Pull up if they mess up. All right.
So I don't want to cheat because I actually know this one.
Okay.
But I will say this is a low number, and you would think it was.
Now, again, the problem that I have with people who are not foundational black Americans who speak on black American issues is that they really, it's always a negative connotation associated with what they're saying, even when it's a good thing. Okay. So she's going to tell you that 6% of black people make six figures. 6% of the people who just got their rights. I want you to understand something. 6% of the people who are now, I'm a generation that just got our full rights. Generation X, the first generation of black people in this country to have full legal rights. But let's keep listening.
More like when I play this game in the past couple of days of doing brand ambassadoring for POUP, a lot of people say some high numbers that you would expect it to be, but that is not it.
That is true.
We need to hit the ground running.
Okay. So what is the number, you think?
The number is 6%.
That is true, guys. She got it right. As of 2021, the number of black Americans who make six figures is 6%. That is...
Neither one of these people, I can listen to the way they speak and tell you that neither one of them are foundational black Americans. 6% of black people, that's 6% of black people make more than six figures.
Like feel like it. Like you would think, I don't know, 25% something. So yeah.
And like when we see billionaires on TV.
So let's table that. 6% of black people make 6%. Well, how many people overall in the United States make 6%? How many people overall in the United States make 6%? Okay. How many people overall in the United States make 6%? Well, let's take a listen.
Make six figures. While social media makes it seem like everyone and their brother makes 100K or more, reality tells us a very different story. In fact, only 1 in 6 Americans actually make six figures.
Only 1 in 6 Americans actually make six figures. That's what you're trying to tell me. So it's not a very common number.
You yourself have broken that 100K milestone. Please share in the comments your occupation so that others can see the multitude of paths that they could take to break six figures. Interesting twist. If we were to slice this by gender versus age, 25% of men make at least six figures, while only 12% of women make at least six figures. Diving into the age brackets, starting off with those ages 55 plus, 16% make at
Shout out to Kaylin. Shout out to everybody who's in here today.
At least six figures, ages 45 to 54. 20% make at least six figures. If you've stayed this long, hit that follow button. Ages 35 to 44, this is where we peak. 25% make at least six figures. Ages 25 to 34, 18% make at least six figures. And finally, the percentage of 18 to 24-year-olds that make at least six figures is 7.
All right, so the younger you are, the less likely you are to make six figures. Now, what about households together? Because they would have us believe all these rich married people, all these married people, these white folk, they're all rich. Let's look at another number.
I thought everybody was rich. New report says only 4% of U.S. households earn 200,000 plus annually. But I thought all the ballers on Instagram and TikTok.
Only 4%. Now, 6% of black Americans make $100,000 a year or more, and only 4% of American households make more than 200,000. So if you put two together, that means with two people in the house at least, right? At least it could be a mom, it could be whoever. Bottom line is, it seems like we're not doing as bad as they would like us to be doing. That's what it seems like to me. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get back to Methany. Let's see what else Methany has to say. Y'all hit the number 1 button. Methany is still at it. Hit the number 1 button.
There's one thing and one thing only: hood prom. And I think what a lot of people fail to realize is hood prom and baby mama culture are like this. You can't have one without the other. You can't have hood prom or the baby shower stuff or the gender reveals or anything like that without baby mama culture. Because the reason why the dresses are so extravagant.
Black women are the most educated.
Somebody type baby mama culture in the chat room.
In the country. Birth rates for black teens have decreased by 34% from 2016 to 2023. Less of them are going into
Get it, baby. Y'all listen to her.
Motherhood, and more of them are going to college.
Less black women are going into motherhood, and more of them are going into college. And the other thing that we've learned is that black people have enough money to pay for these kids. Remember when I told you about William the Conqueror, aka William the Bastard, where that term bastard come from? Yeah, so William the Bastard, or William the Conqueror, his mother was of low status and his father was a noble. And whether you're a bastard or not depends on your mother's low status, and your status is associated with how much money your mama has. Okay, I know that's a modern day translation. So in other words, even the term bastard, it wasn't so important. Before the 13th century in England, it was plenty of people who we would call illegitimate, who still rose to prominence and become even I think even Elizabeth I was a so-called bastard. She was born illegitimately. The question is, can you afford to take care of those kids? Not necessarily whether or not you're married or not, because see, you know, we got a lot of people out here, they get married, right? And I'm not saying names because, you know, Uncle D is not messy, but they get married, and then this is, you know, they had these issues.
Give me your phone. I'm shutting it off.
Here comes the next one. Yeah.
Oh, well.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? That does not seem like a black problem to me. Does this look like a black problem to you all? Pickup truck, Chevys, little baby hanging out with put some socks on that baby. That's the first thing you need to do. Start
being the parent, buddy.
Being the parent. So you got old daddy and stepdaddy, new daddy, old daddy and first daddy and new daddy. All right, you flattening the tires on a new daddy.
My truck in my name.
My truck.
I paid for it.
Give me that phone.
Look at them white babies. Somebody put some socks on those white babies. Somebody type socks in the chat room. So this is what this blissful white marriage is doing.
Well, first I want to say my condolences.
And my condolences to the children. Uncle D love the kids. Okay, I'm sorry for these kids, but this is what this marital bliss looks like. Because it looked like she working on husband number 2.
To the 2 women and the children that were unalived by this gentleman.
Now he didn't unalive. He's a family unaliver. That's what he did. This is the marital bliss that you all. Let's go on back. Hold on a minute. Let's get on back.
It's about a debutante ball. You don't say this about a quinceañera, but you want to say it about black girls.
They don't say it about a debutante ball. They don't say it about a quinceañera. All right, let's keep listening.
Prom. Talking about how extravagant the dresses are and how extravagant the cars are. Just say you're jealous. You sound like a hater, and a hater is nothing but a misguided admirer. Do you wish it was you who had an extravagant dress and pulled up with an extravagant car?
Sound like she's jealous. Somebody type jealous. Jealousy is ugly.
Because why are you, as a grown woman, worried about what teenage girls are wearing to prom? Maybe the only thing that you think is worth celebrating is being married to a man. The marriage rates and birth rates are dropping for all races, including yours. You want them to idealize marriage because you do. You said all of that just to say I may not have had a fancy, extravagant prom, but at least I'm not a baby mama. But even with a baby on their hip, they're still getting their education. And a degree is much harder to get than a man.
Now check that.
She did. The degree is much harder to get in a man. You can walk down to the gas station. Ladies, any of y'all just want a man. You know you can walk on down there to the gas, drive your car up at the gas station, and you can get a man. Y'all know that he gonna, hey, what's up, baby? How you might be missing a few teeth. You might have to clean them up a little, but getting a man is not hard. Okay, getting the right type of man is probably more difficult. But let's go ahead and keep listening. Let's go ahead and we're going to entertain it to a certain point. Let's see what else she has to say.
Baby mama culture are like this. You can't have one without the other.
I have ruffled some feathers, to say the least. I'm pissing you off.
Now look at those eyes. Are these eyes that you would trust? I want y'all to, let me go ahead and move my. Okay, I don't know. So, you know, let's take everything she says with a grain of salt. We don't want to totally disavow this mayonnaise princess, but the eyes tell a lot. The eyes tell the complete story for me. Let's keep
glad
listening.
I'm pissing you off. Now change. Put an emphasis on having the father in the home. I don't have a dad myself.
There it is.
She lecturing us. She telling us.
You're thinking that every man is going to leave you just like my dad did.
Oh my God, that was painful. Everybody's gonna meet you just like your daddy did. It's painful. She's speaking her truth.
I know it because I've lived it.
So you're a fatherless white woman trying to lecture
a fatherless white woman. Damn.
black people on keeping a man in the house when your white father didn't even stay around to keep you. That's crazy. I had a really serious response to say, like, to the first video, but then she came out with the second video, and I genuinely just cannot take it serious, babe. You need therapy. You need 5150 ASAP, because this don't even make any sense. How did you equate black people's prom and being married or not being married, and you being white and not having a father, and you don't want any other children to feel that way? You need to take that up with the white folks. That ain't got nothing to do with us. Because how do you look at a young, beautiful black girl going to prom and immediately think, yeah, I see the low self-esteem in her eyes, instead of like, wow, she looks so gorgeous, I wonder what she did to deserve that.
Yeah.
No, instead you think, oh, she's a baby mama. Like, you're weird. It's giving that you feel so entitled to the fact that you feel deserving of your white father, and you're mad when you see a black girl with her black dad, and you're mad because your white dad didn't want you.
Now, that's going to go to a bigger picture. We ain't got there yet. We just getting warmed up, okay? We just getting warmed up. Let's keep going.
But, you know.
You hear what she said? Jealousy. Somebody type covetousness. Can the church type covetousness in the chat room? Somebody type covetous. I got one more video for y'all to check out. Then we're going to keep it pushing on to the...
Somehow I fell on the prom side of social media, and I don't like it over here. Take a look at these videos, these babies.
Look. First of all, let me tell you something. Can I speak to you all as a father and a businessman? I don't even allow my sons to wear straight bill hats. That's what he has on right there. See that hat right there? Unless you at a baseball game or a football game or on a fishing trip, that is to me, that's ghetto. You're not gonna see me with a straight bill hat. I know brothers like wearing in New York. I get that. So when you're judging, Uncle D is snooty. Okay, I just want you all to know that Uncle D is snooty. And so when I see a grown man with a baseball cap on, to me, that's ghetto. Part of the reason you see me with my sport coat on and I try to look decent for you all. And lately, I've been trying to get my hair cut because I want to treat you like I care about you. To me, that's ghetto. So if you're going to judge them, I'm going to judge you. You got a t-shirt on and you got a ghetto baseball cap on. Okay. To me, all these guys, and I know why the brothers wear the baseball caps. Ladies, you know why. Do you know why they wear baseball caps? Ladies, I'm gonna tell you a secret. If you see a grown man walking around with a baseball cap on, that's like man makeup. Okay. And the reason it's like man makeup, because if all you can see is this part of their head, then you can't really tell how old they are. So it actually makes them look younger. So that's why a lot of guys will wear a baseball cap. It covers up bald spots, it covers up liver spots, it covers up imperfections and so on and so forth. So keep that in mind. If you see a dude, grown man walking around with a baseball cap on, that's man makeup. That is the man BBL. Okay. So, and when I see it, it looks to me unprofessional. Since we judging folks, since we judging the ghetto people, I'm gonna judge all you guys. And that goes for all the brothers. It's the truth. They'll put that hat on, wear it real low, trying to be cool, but really they just trying to hide their age. So you can't figure that out.
Bruh.
Yeah. Now that'll cost you about $15,000. You understand me? Look at it. They're celebrating. Now, what exactly are we celebrating? We're celebrating someone's prom, and prom is what? Graduate symbolizes senior graduated from high school, because only the seniors graduate from high school are the ones that at least get invited to the prom. They might invite somebody else. And typically these days, they don't want you bringing somebody from another school. And so they want that person to be a senior also. So we got two high school seniors graduating from prom. What's the problem with that celebration? Look at my man Shab out there. Somewhere in Texas. That's Dallas, probably. Look like Dallas to me.
Side note, somebody in the comments said, my boy is giving this. And I love the human brain so much, because the fact that somebody looked at this baby and then thought of this chocolate. By the way, in case you're new here, I'm actually not Spike Lee. I make content like this every day. Stick around. The question I have for the masses today is this how you sent your child off to prom? Is this how you were sent off to prom? Is this how you're gonna send your child off to prom? Because all I know is, for me and
Why do you care, brother? And what is the problem? Are you the type of brother that goes to the black church and wonders why black people in there hooping and hollering and making all that noise? I mean, I'm just saying, maybe you consider it ghetto or not. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, do you also question why, you know, I mean, do you question why black people are so celebratory or so loud? Are you one of those type? I'm just asking, brother. I'm just here asking because I'm comfortable with myself. I know Uncle D's a little hood. Okay, I'm a little hood, but you know, I understand my people, and I'm not here to judge folk like that. Even though I understand some behavior is inappropriate, but the truth is, I understand my people well enough to know what's going on, and it seems as though you're not. And again, when I look at these people, I don't necessarily know if they're foundational Black American or not. I can't really see the forehead. That's the way in which I can tell. Now, typically, it's the ratio of the forehead. If the forehead slides back, that the further back it is, the more closer on the more east they are as far as the African continent. Okay, so my forehead, see the rat, see that? Equal parts. Okay, Black American. Okay, look at that, equal parts. Okay, back here, right, way back there, Somalia, and especially when they got the bulge right there, the light bulb going. All right, here, some Zimbabwe. Okay, that right there, that's that Nigerian. I'm just pointing it out, and the pointier the head is, the more southern Africa they are. That's my observation. I'm just pointing that out to you. So you know, but let's keep
my
listening.
household, as much as I want to celebrate my children, we ain't doing this for prom.
You not.
I got you on graduation. I got you on the day you get married if you decide to go down that route. But prom, but at the same time though, if I need to come up with the times, I'll come up with the times. Your boy gonna stay.
But maybe it's not important to you because you expect your children to graduate from college or get married. Maybe I'm just saying, maybe it's a little different for you. Okay,
relevant. So let me know, is this the expectation for prom in 2026? By the time I get to my children who are class of 2030 something, I guess, this is what we're gonna have to do. Y'all let me know. And congratulations to all these children for making it to prom. The fact that they made it to this place in their high school career is a big deal.
That's the big deal. That seems like the big deal to me, sir. But I'm gonna let y'all finish. So, you know, I understand why white people chime in, but it's interesting.
No such thing as a hood prom. It's just a prom.
Is hood prom and baby mama culture are like this. Because the reason
fair use
why the dresses are so extravagant in the cars in the show.
Shout out to this Kayal. Thank you so much.
The presentation is because this is the closest these girls will ever get to being a bride. In the Black community, I'm sorry to say it, actually, no, I'm not, because it's the truth, especially in lower income households, there's not as much of an emphasis on family anymore. These kids aren't getting.
It's just all about family, huh? Well, I'm just saying, I still want to know the question. Do you have any baby mamas in the white community? Are there any women giving birth to children outside of wedlock in the white community? I'm just asking. Let's keep going.
Married.
What Black teenage girl, or what teenage girl period, would think to herself, you know what, let me go above and beyond for my prom because I know that I'm just going to end up being a baby mama, and this is my only chance to shine as the princess of the night. This is my only chance because I'm never going to be somebody's wife. Who the heck?
I don't think they're going that deep into the rationale, baby. You right. Go ahead.
Who would even think of something like that? Just because Black people do something doesn't mean that it needs to be labeled as hood or ghetto. It's called culture. That's the culture of Black proms.
Somebody type culture. It's the culture of Black people. Somebody type, shout out to Curly Live.
And then she decided to add this little tidbit at the end of another video.
And while we're here, I'm just going to say something else that's going to ruffle your feathers. Black women are far more likely to be obese than white women, and that is also something.
Well, you know what? White women are far more likely to be on medication than Black women. So how about maybe you should eat more? Maybe you should get that diagnosis. See those eyes? Let me put the eyes back up again. Well said. White people have more likelihood to have at least 20 different mental ailments than Black people. In general, probably a little. I don't want to say anything, but I'm just saying this is what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said in the debate she had, and I found that mighty interesting. So we all got issues. Why don't you focus on those issues? But again, the eyes are what we need to focus on with this particular still shot here. But we'll let her continue to speak.
Something that needs to be discussed because y'all are dying.
This is how you know we them ones, because everybody named mama.
Dying, we like, what do you mean? There's plenty of us out here. Yeah, have you examined the world of Black people, and the world's like, y'all are 7% of the population. Who do you mean we're dying? We are here. We are not going anywhere. We've been here since, and we're gonna be here. But let's keep going.
Lets us live rent free in their heads. They just can't keep us out of their mouth. They just can't stop thinking about us. I mean, just random spur of the moment thoughts. It's almost like people are having wet dreams about what to say about Black Americans. Like it's becoming blatantly obvious. But I guess that's what happens when you're the main character.
Get them, baby. Get them, baby. Woo. Well. Again, as I said earlier, normally, when I talk about Latinos and when I talk about Africans and when I talk about Caribbeans, even Asians and Arabs, I speak to them from the perspective of I'm educating them. But I'm not going to sit up here and try to educate a white American woman on racism. They perfected it. Okay, they give, and we often try to give white women a break. But remember, white women, and this is a couple of white women in here, and I know it's some well-meaning white folk up in here, and you are doing your best to be anti-racist. But at the end of the day, you all raise these people. Okay, you raise these little racist people to pop on the internet, say these crazy things, and I got to spend my day dealing with it. So now let's talk some talk. Okay, we've got to talk about foundational Black American women, okay? Because when people bring up hood prom, okay, and well, let me say this first. If you learn something, I should earn something. That's about it. I'm not gonna go too deep into that because I want this thing to roll through. But she was directly dealing with foundational Black Americans. This is important that we delineate. Hood prom, all right? Right? You try to frame that as some Black culture as dysfunctional. That's what she was doing. And they always circle back to this single mother narrative, like that's the foundation. So let's deal with it directly using numbers from places like the Pew Research Center for Disease Control, or the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Shout out to Fuquan and the United States Census Bureau. Now, here's the thing I want y'all to understand. Are y'all with me? Listen to me. Listen. You're in here. Around 28 to 30% of white women who give birth aren't married. And that's every year. All right? 28 to 30% of white women who give birth are not married. Okay? 28 to 30% of white women who give birth are not married. Is that clear? That's a lot. Now, the total U.S. births are about 3,596,000 births. Okay? 28 to 30% of those are single mothers, single white women who got knocked up and pushed one out without a ring. Okay? But here's where the conversation gets, they don't say that. Okay? White women have roughly 1.8 to 2 million, well, let me say it like this. That's about 5 to 600,000 children annually. Okay, 600,000 children hatched out or given birth by white women every year. Now, I want you to zoom out. Now, let's use some broader estimates that come out in when we look at, there are about 8 to 9 million Black mothers altogether. Okay. Now, when I say Black mothers, about 3.5 to 4 million are Black single mothers. Now, if you listen to that number, they're going to say, oh, well, that's a lot of single mothers. Oh, that's a lot of Black single mothers. But you have to account for the fact that since we're talking about hood prom, we're talking distinctly about FBA. Somebody type FBA in the chat room. We're talking about foundational Black Americans. We're talking about the American Negro. We're talking about descendants of the enslaved period, people who were here before 1865, not recent people. So when we discuss FBA, birth out of wedlock, you have to understand that there are 62 different ethnic groups of black people in America. That's Jamaican, that's Haitian, that's Dominican, that's Trinidadian, that's Tobago, that's Ghana, that's all the countries in Africa. You got all the people, South America, et cetera, et cetera. All right. And so numerically, when you integrate those into the statistics, that's a bigger number than foundational black Americans. So here's the thing, about 75%, and then also they have their own children. So they have second generation. So when you break the numbers down, 75% of black Americans are non-immigrant in lineage. And so when you separate that out, about a quarter of the children born to so-called black Americans are not from our culture. They wouldn't have a hood prom because they are not foundational black Americans. She's only dealing with it. She's not talking about some people who came from here from Zimbabwe who had some kids. She's talking about foundational black Americans. So when you do the numbers, about 375,000 black women in this country, anywhere from 375 to 410, have children outside of wedlock. Okay. Of the 550 black births, is only about 375,000. And so what does that mean? What it means is foundational black American women are only giving birth to 375 children out of wedlock, and white women are birthing up to 600,000 bastard kids every year. You understand that? So what's the bigger problem? Okay. So when we say stuff like 70 to 80% of black births are out of wedlock, okay, but you turn around and ignore the over 500,000 white women who are pushing out babies every year. 600,000. You can't use percentages to tell one story and ignore the total. Who is actually putting more bodies in the street? Where is the single mother problem coming from? The question is, which of these occurrences is having a greater impact on society? The 600,000 single white mothers raising these children, or the 375,000 single black mothers? What's the bigger number? Okay. And somebody is pushing out 600,000, another one's pushing out 375. We clearly see what the bigger number is. See, if we're talking about scale, the answer isn't what people are trying to make it seem. Okay. This is what we talk about. Now, anytime you bring up the single mother and you point that problem out, that the fact that white women are pushing 600,000 600,000 white women are giving birth to 600,000 children outside of wedlock every year, guess what? All of a sudden, the conversation shifts. It's not about blame anymore. It becomes, well, this is just an American issue. We all need to deal with it. See, that's the pivot. They'll tell you it's a world issue. They'll point out the fact that Japan has a single mother issue, and Colombia has a single mother issue, and Puerto Rico has a single mother issue. You understand? And see, that's the deflection. The same people who were just talking like it's uniquely a black American failure suddenly broaden the conversation the moment their side of the numbers comes up. Somebody typed 600,000 in the chat room. And see, I call that the all lives matter move. When the focus changes, not because the facts change, but because the framing got uncomfortable. And what this actually shows is something simple. This is not a black problem. It is an American problem. It is a world problem. It exists all across all groups everywhere. And the difference is how it's framed. And see, when it's black families, it's called dysfunction. It's called breakdown. It's called cultural failure. When it's white folk and white family, it becomes circumstances of hardship or just part of modern society. And see, that's the inconsistency. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You are always going to remember moving forward from this broadcast forward that there are 600,000 white women pushing out bastard babies every damn year and nobody's talking about it. Where is the manosphere? I love you all, but this is why they put me out of the manosphere. And I am an advocate for black men. I love my brothers. I always talk about, and I never say anything about these things because, you know, I'm an advocate for black men. Why would I bring this up and help us lose the argument? I wouldn't do that. You understand what I'm saying? But if I was just speaking the truth and not being an advocate for black men, why would I tip my hand to the other side? But now since we're under attack, and I know what people are trying to do, you're trying to pathologize white folk. Now I'm gonna put this back on you. So single white motherhood has always been an issue in America, but it's treated differently. See, when people talk about white families, they bring up Christianity, the nuclear household, strong fathers, but they rarely talk about these white women having all these children outside of wedlock. And some of them will slip up and go get married to another white man, and they'll just put that white baby with the new white babies and nobody know, okay? But see, here's the thing. Reality that men leaving families is one of the reasons child support and alimony laws exist in the first place. They invented it. That was for the white man. The white man kept leaving his white woman. That's what happened. Okay, so this didn't start yesterday, and it's been part of the white American society from the onset. This is not a black problem. It started with white folk. As a matter of fact, the whole manosphere thing was white men angry with white women, and we got caught up in it, but it is what it is. We're going to move beyond that. Bottom line is when the conversation shifts to black families, and suddenly it becomes, this is the root of all our problems, and what you're really seeing is selective outrage. Now, when you look at history, okay, because see, here's the thing you need to understand, JR the real. Ain't nobody stopped white people from being great, yet they still have this baby mama problem, okay? Nobody has stopped white people from being great, and yet they still have this baby mama problem. When you look at history, redlining, employment discrimination, unequal schools, black Americans have dealt with structural barriers and others didn't have to deal with, right? They didn't face the same level of scrutiny that we did. And when the outcomes don't look perfect, the conversation immediately shifts to blame. Now, nobody's stopping white people, as I said, nobody's stopping white people from being great. And see, and this is where it gets real uncomfortable. If you're going to point out single motherhood as an explanation for everything, then you have to apply that same logic across the board. You can't sit up here and say it's a sign of cultural failure amongst black folks and then turn around and soften it when it comes to white folks and anybody else. Because when you look at the numbers, you're still dealing with hundreds of thousands of single white women, between 560,000 and 600,000 every year giving birth out of marriage. And that's not a small issue, and it's not a small number. That's not an outlier. And see, that's a major ongoing pattern in American society. So the question becomes, what does that say? If you got one group of people who has had more access and more time and fewer systematic barriers historically, and you're still seeing those outcomes at that huge scale, then it tells you something bigger is going on, not something isolated, not something you can pin on one community. It points to a broader shift in family structure, economics, and culture across the country. That's why framing it, trying to frame it as though it's a black problem falls apart under any sort of scrutiny. Because see, once you step back and look at the full picture, what you're really seeing is a national trend that cuts across racial lines. If anything, it forces a deeper question. Are we looking at a breakdown tied to one group, or are we looking at a larger structural societal change affecting everyone? And so when people bring up single motherhood as an explanation for everything without context, without comparison, without consistency, then what they're really doing is avoiding that bigger conversation. And when you bring numbers into it, that narrative starts to fall apart. Now let's go deeper into the culture, okay? We want to go deeper into the culture, but the first thing we need to do, okay, the first thing that you and I and everybody watching this broadcast need to do, I need all of y'all to come in tight and pay very close attention. I need y'all, are y'all listening to me? Are you all listening to me? Huh? I need you to listen to me right now, okay? Let's get in here. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Let me see what my subscriptions look like. We ain't taking a break, but you all need to go ahead and, are you learning something? If you hadn't learned anything, you just hard to teach. But if you learn something, I should earn something. But in the meantime, I need y'all to make sure, apparently YouTube took 20 of my subscribers away for whatever reasons. I need you all to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel right now. Take the time to subscribe to the channel. I'm checking to see what my subscriptions look like right now. I need you all to take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel. You'll never get another person as bold as me. I need, I need approximately 18 people to subscribe to the channel so I can get to 92,600. I need 18 people to subscribe to the channel so I can get to 92,600. Okay, so take the time and hit your little button and subscribe to the channel right now. I know you hear me. I know you hear me. I know. I'm looking at you. You right there. You with your phone like this on the side of your face. I'm looking you in the pickup, you in the truck with your phone down there listening to me in your truck. You riding across the country. Yeah, you. I need you to subscribe to the channel right now. Don't play. All right? Go ahead. Go ahead. You sitting in there ignoring your girlfriend, listening to me, go ahead and do it. Go ahead. Everybody who have something else to do and you sat up here and decide to listen to me with your earphones on, subscribe to the channel right now. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Yes, you. Is he talking to me? I'm talking to you. You with the shirt on. I'm talking to you right now. And I'm talking to you too, lady. I'm talking to you with the bonnet on your head. All the women with bonnets on your head. Every woman with a bonnet on her head, I need you to subscribe to the channel right now. All right? Fellas. All the fellas with crusty feet, I need you to subscribe to the channel right now. I need my crusty feet crew. All the brothers that have not put lotion on their feet and they got ashy ankles, I need you to subscribe to the channel. All the white supremacists who are waiting around for me to to get the black committee to issue an official apology, I need y'all to hit the subscribe button now. Go ahead and do it. All the angry Muslims, all the angry black Muslims, I need you to come in here. I need you to subscribe. You need to hear this. You need to come on up in and hear this. I need 6 more people to subscribe to the channel right now. All you angry, come on. Come on now. Don't run from it. Don't just be happy it's not your day. Just be happy it's not your day. I'll be on them. When people die, I give them their day. Haitians, they caught hands last week. The poor Haitians, they was like, what are you doing to me? We are doing. Yeah, I caught hands. It's not your day today, baby. Subscribe to the channel today. Go ahead. We need 5 more people to subscribe to the channel, and I get back to work. I need 5 people. Out of 600-700 of y'all, I need 5 folk. You send this to a friend. Send this to your Muslim friend. He about to do his hadith. He over there, talking about don't eat pork. I send him this. Next time you say, that's why I've been eating them pork rinds in front of you right now. I didn't know. Yeah. I need 5 people. All I need is 5 people to subscribe to the channel, and we will be at 92,000. Okay, I need 4 people. Don't hate watch. You're not gonna sit up here and hate watch me. You're gonna subscribe to this channel. 3 people. I need 3 people to subscribe to the channel. I need 3 more people. Look where we at. I want y'all to see where we at. Okay? See that? See, you can't see. It's almost. I need 3 people to subscribe to the channel, and I get back to work. I got more to say. I'll talk to you. 2 people. I need 2 people. I got 92,598 people. Subscribe to the channel now. 1 person. I need 1 person to get me to 92,600, and I get back to work. I'm gonna get back to work as soon as y'all give me my 92,600 people. There we go. Praise God. See, that wasn't so hard, was it? Now let's get back. Let's get back to where we at. I'd like to thank all the crusty feet people, all the ladies with bonnets on. Okay. I'd like to thank all the angry Muslims, all the white supremacists. Everybody's welcome here with Uncle D, baby. Everybody welcome to get this work. Uncle D is passing out the truth over here. I'm here to hurt your ears, make you feel bad. Yeah. Next time they tell you don't eat that pork sandwich, brother. You know you worshiping the damn racist ass religion. You got that brother-in-law trying to, man, when you gonna come down to the mob? You know you're racist, man. But anyway. All right. Thank you there. That wasn't hard, was it? It wasn't hard. Shout out to everybody. Now let's get back to work. All right. I appreciate y'all. All right. I shouldn't have to beg. For y'all to subscribe to the channel. But anyway, again, when Black celebration gets turned into a problem, and that's what we see. And how do we get here today? We got here because this young lady, for you all who weren't here at the beginning, It was this young lady who had these things to say about
realize is hood prom and baby mama culture are like this. You can't have one without the other. You can't have hood prom or the baby shower stuff or the gender reveals or anything like that without baby mama culture. Because the reason why the dresses are so extravagant in the cars and the show and the presentation is because this is the closest these girls will ever get to being a bride. In the Black community, I'm sorry to say it, actually, no, I'm not, because it's the truth, especially in lower income households, there's not as much of an emphasis on family anymore. These kids aren't getting married. They're going to be baby mamas and baby daddies, so they're never going to have a wedding. These girls are never going to walk down the aisle. Some of them probably will. Hood things exist.
All right, so you heard what she had to say. So let's go ahead and really break this down. Now, in today's language, hood is often treated as shorthand for Black. And so when people say hood prom, what they're really pointing at directly or indirectly is Black prom. And what we're seeing once again is a pattern. Black experiences and celebrations getting pulled apart, analyzed, and then reframed from people outside the community as some kind of social or economic problem. Instead of letting something exist as a cultural expression, it gets turned into a diagnosis. And this doesn't just happen with a prom. It shows up anytime Black people are celebrating anything. Somebody type Black joy in the chat room. All right. So let's talk about Juneteenth. It marks a real historical event. This was the delayed announcement of emancipation in Texas in 1865. But every year, instead of just acknowledging the history, you'll see commentary saying, "Oh, it's unnecessary," or that people shouldn't be celebrating, or that it's being overdone. And the focus shifts from the meaning of the holiday to questioning why Black people are celebrating it at all. And then there's Kwanzaa. Now, a holiday built around cultural identity, family values, like unity and self-determination. And what happens? It gets mocked. People call it fake, made up, irrelevant, ignoring the fact that all traditions are created by people at some point. I mean, name a holiday that's not made up, right? And so you complain about Kwanzaa, but you celebrating the Easter bunny and hiding eggs has nothing to do with Jesus Christ at all, okay? Neither does Santa Claus and the birth of Jesus. Instead of engaging in what it represents, the conversation becomes about tearing it down. Even Dr. MLK, Dr. Martin Luther King, his day isn't immune. A day meant to honor one of the most important figures in American history somehow gets reduced to debates about whether people deserve a day off or whether the country should still be focusing on race. Again, the celebration gets reframed as a problem. And the pattern is consistent no matter what the event is, whether it's a holiday or a cultural moment or something like a prom. There's always somebody ready to step in and say, "Why are you Black people doing this? Or shouldn't you Black people be focused on something else?" The argument is always the same, that celebration is a distraction, that there are bigger issues, that time and energy are being wasted. But notice what's happening beneath the argument. Shout out to my man, Phu Quan. Notice what's happening. The standard being applied is one that says Black people don't get to celebrate until every problem that we ever had or could have is planned for and solved. Every moment of joy has to be justified. Every cultural expression has to be explained. And if it doesn't meet someone else's expectations, it gets labeled as irresponsible or misguided. And see, that's how other communities, that's not how other communities are treated. Nobody tells other groups to stop celebrating their traditions until their social issues are fixed. Nobody demands that Hispanics or Jewish people or African people, I mean, you got people from other countries celebrating holidays in this country that have nothing to do with this country. But nobody demands that every holiday or milestones serve as a practical purpose. But when it comes to Black people and Black cultural celebration, it gets questioned. And over time, that constant criticism shapes perception, and it creates a narrative where Black life is always framed around struggle. And any visible joy, somebody type Black joy, gets treated like it's out of place or worse, undeserved. You see? Now, hood prom. So when you hear terms like hood prom being used in a dismissive way, it's not just about prom. It's a part of a larger pattern where Black celebration is consistently reframed as a problem instead of being recognized for what it actually is. It's an expression, identity, and community. Now at its basic level, hood prom simply refers to prom experiences connected to inner city or predominantly Black communities. And in the neutral sense, the word hood is just celebrating a cultural environment. It's not automatically negative. It's pointing to a style of celebration that may look different from the traditional image of prom being held in some quiet ballroom in Utah somewhere, but with some formal atmosphere and some slow, boring music playing. But what you see instead is something more community-driven, more expressive, more creative. It's actually more reflective and expressive of foundational Black American culture. You have family, friends, the entire neighborhood show up and get involved, and the event becomes bigger than just a school function. It turns into a full celebration of a milestone. And when you actually look at what's happening, and see, this is the part we need to understand. What actually is happening? What's happening? What stands out isn't dysfunction. It's effort and intention. Young people are putting real time and energy into how they present themselves. You see custom outfits, bold fashion choices, detailed styling, a clear desire to stand out and express individuality. There are elaborate send-offs with decorative cars, organized photo shoots, large gatherings where people come back. Big Mama ain't left the house in 10 years, and she coming to see her grandbaby get sent off for his prom or her prom. That's not by accident. That reflects coordination. It reflects family pride, community pride, and values showing up for its young people. Even online, hashtag hood prom are used by Black teens themselves as a way to showcase creativity, identity, celebration, not as something to be ashamed of, but something to highlight. But see, once the term hood prom moves into online spaces like TikTok, right, and Instagram and YouTube, then the comments section starts popping off. The meanings start to shift. It stops being descriptive and starts being dismissive. People use it as a coded language, a way to imply that something is ghetto. That's what they really want to say. They really want to call it ghetto prom. They want to call it low class prom. They want to call it chaotic prom. They want to treat it as though it's not serious. And that shift is important because it shows how quickly a neutral description can be turned into a negative judgment. You can have a video of a well-dressed teenager wearing a high-end outfit, arriving in luxury cars, participating in organized events, and people will still label it hood prom in a way that strips it of its value. And at that point, the term isn't about what actually happened anymore. It's about how the viewer chooses to interpret it. The same event that could be seen as a display of pride, effort, and celebration gets reframed as wasteful, irresponsible, and misguided. And that reinterpretation doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from the assumptions being placed on it. So when we break it down, there are really two meanings operating at the same time. On one hand, there's the neutral meaning, prom culture, coming out of the inner city or Black communities, rooted in creativity and community and involvement and self-expression. And then on the flip side, there's a more online usage, a slang level that's sarcastic and negative, used to stereotype and mock Black people. And understand the difference matters because it shows how language can be used either to describe reality or to distort it in a way that reinforces predetermined narrative. Now, one thing we have to understand is this. A lot of what the dominant white society mocks in this generation, they're going to repackage it and they're going to profit for the next generation. That's the pattern. First, they laugh at it. They call it ghetto. Then they tell Black people it's embarrassing. And then once Black people have been shamed away from it, somebody white or in the mainstream picks it up and renames it and sanitizes it and sells it back to the world as their own. We saw it happen with twerking. See, before Miley Cyrus helped push it into the mainstream pop culture, twerking already had been popping. It was going hard in New Orleans. They used to call it pee popping. Somebody typed pee popping in the chat room. They called it pee popping. It wasn't twerking. Okay, pee popping, right? Before it hit the pop culture, pee pop was going in the 80s. They was doing that. So twerking already had deep roots in black dance culture in the African diaspora down south. And then after Miley Cyrus 2013, the VMA performance, you see, they openly debated whether or not this was a misappropriation of African American culture, but it blew up. What had been mocked as not dancing suddenly became a trend, and pop culture was a spectacle, even part of workout culture. And we also saw it happen with the blues and rap and rock and roll. And somebody said, how I know so much about P-popping? Because I went to Grambling State University and I was over there at the Renaissance, the little club called the Renaissance with one way in and one way out. And I got there in 1992, and I was up there doing my California dance, and one of them little New Orleans girls started pee-popping on the front of my pants, and I'm like, hold up, baby, hold up, what's happening? Hold it. Yeah, that's how I learned about it. I learned about it the right way. I was up in there with my shirt off, like, yeah. That's how I learned about pee-popping. You know, bounce bitty bounce for a bottle of wine, bounce bitty bounce for the second line. Yeah, I know all about that, you heard me? But anyway, like I said, they did the same thing with blues and rap and rock and roll. They used to dismiss blues as vulgar and sinful. They called it the devil's music. And yet it became one of the foundations of modern American music. Rap was dismissed for years. They said it wasn't really music. They wouldn't even play it on MTV. They said it was a fad. But now hip hop dominates the global culture. And people still argue over whether rap belongs in places like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And let's not forget Little Richard. Since we're talking about rock and roll, Little Richard, a black man, is widely recognized as the architect of rock and roll, even as white artists were often elevated and rewarded more quickly by the mainstream. He was the one that they took the style from. Okay? Tutti Frutti, he talks about that. Oh, Rudy. Hell, even when you start looking at black women's bodies, they used to pathologize black women's natural bodies for years. Having a big wide booty, somebody type wide booty in the chat. I like somebody type big wide booty and full hips and thick thighs, and they mocked that. They attached that to being a black woman. And so what's up, man? Come over here for a minute. I'm sorry, it's interrupted me. What's happening, man? I'm trying to talk to. Come on down here. Come on down here. Say hi to everybody. I'm in here trying to have a conversation about wide booties. You going to what you think about hood prom? They people disrespected this. Look, man, the little white woman said all you N-words are hood. That's what she said. Y'all are hood. And I'm trying to explain what's wrong with people enjoying themselves. They graduate from high school. You know what I'm saying? Hey, let me tell you something, and we're going to talk about this a little later. So this is Roman. Roman got a nice little BMW that daddy bought. And what the white man asked you? Come back there. And then the same white man turned around and asked me if it was his car.
Yeah.
And told me, well, you don't seem like the type of father that'll buy your son that car. Then the same white man, we in the car together and he driving. What the white man asked you again?
He asked me if it was my car again.
And what does that tell you about this white man?
A little jealous.
A little bit jealous. They be watching. I be telling you, son, they be white. Keep them white folk out your business. Don't let them get in your business, boy. Don't bring no white gals to my house. I'm gonna tell you that again. Okay. Don't I tell you that?
Yeah.
Bring them white girl to my house. I know you got good hair. You know he get his hair from me. Come on, put your head down in here. See, I got that greater hair too. I just have to put water on it. If I put a little water and baby oil, it'll curl up like that. It will.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will. I got the good hair. Just like I got some spots, I got to, but I got hair just like that. When I had all of it was, Anyway, let me get back to work. I'm trying to do my thing, man. You just getting you. I'm sorry. I apologize. Some people. It's so rude. Thank you, sir. I don't need nothing else from you. I got my book. Thank you. I'll be reading books. Shout out to Dr. Tia San Johnson. Y'all need to check this book out. Anyway, let me get back to work. Excuse me for that rude interruption. Okay, what were we talking about? Well, we were talking about wide booties. We was talking about wide. Was that what we left off? Somebody type wide booties in the chat room. Yeah, wide booties. Somebody type Sir Mix-a-Lot. I like big butts because I cannot lie, right? Yeah, you remember that song? That whole song was a protest, okay? Because up until that point, and the name of the song is Baby Got Back. I suggest each of you all go ahead and listen to that with your closest loved ones and sing along, if you will. But, Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back, it even opened up by showing white women ridiculing black women's body type. Okay, and then decades later, that same shape became the mainstream beauty goal. I mean, Kim Kardashian. Oh, you would think she was the only woman with a big wide booty. You understand? The BBL trend didn't come from white women, but the modern mainstream obsession that the black woman had the natural BBL without all the plastic. You had celebrities, you had influencers getting praised for features. Black women were mocked that black women had naturally. And here's another one. Shout out to all the guys you guys like basketball. Where are all my people who like the NBA? Okay, let me give you a story that you all probably don't know, man. Check this out. Before the NBA was integrated in the 1950s, black basketball players weren't just excluded, they were also mischaracterized. The dominant narrative at the time was the black players played too flashy, they were undisciplined with the style of basketball, while the white players, right, when the score would be 10-15 in the fourth quarter, right, the white players were seen as fundamentally sound, team-oriented. And that stereotype showed up clearly in moments like the 1966 NCAA championship, where you had an all-black starting lineup, and they were criticized before the game even started based on assumptions about how they were going to play. And even though those assumptions didn't match the reality, at the same time, the teams like the Harlem Globetrotters were often treated as entertainers or a comedy act and not taken seriously as elite competitors, even though they were beating top white teams like the Minneapolis Lakers in the 1940s. And see, in other words, family, okay, the skills were there, but the perception was controlled. And then integration happens, and players like Earl Lloyd, they enter into the league in the 1950s, and over time, the very style that had been criticized starts to define what basketball is. And so today, what people celebrate as creativity with your Michael Jordans and your Kobe Bryants and all these other cats that you guys see, they call it ball handling. Now they call it ball handling. They call it athletic expression. And in the NBA, in the NBA is largely rooted in the same style that they used to dismiss, which they used to call showboating. And now you see players across all races. You see big, tall white boys from Europe imitating black dudes who grew up balling in North Carolina and Houston and LA. You see, adopting and imitating the style, training it to each other, building their careers around it. So again, the pattern holds. First, they mock it, then they accept it, and it becomes a standard. So when we talk about stuff like hood prom criticism, okay, you don't treat it like it's an innocent commentary. What they're mocking now, okay, what they're mocking now, they're going to be imitating later. And today is hood prom. Tomorrow it'll be called luxury prom send-offs. It'll be called the cinematic prom reveals. Prom production culture. That's what white people do. They're going to change the name or some other clean, marketable name. And once it gets renamed, somebody's going to make money from it. You're going to have people organizing it. You're going to have prom planners. You see? And that's the culture of appropriation in plain language. Mock it, shame it, rename it, steal it, and profit from it. And they make black people feel embarrassed about something that naturally comes out of our culture. And then once they separate us from it, they pick it up and act like they discovered it. Now, let's slow down a little bit. Are y'all still with me? You guys still with me? Make sure you still with me. I need to know. We learning a lot. We deep into the word now. Okay. Before anybody critiques hood prom, the real question is what's actually being celebrated. Shout out to Crook 6218. What's being celebrated? Have we ever discussed that? Because what a group of people chooses to celebrate tells you everything about what they value. See, at its core, prom represents a milestone. It's tied to graduation, not just a social event, but the closing chapter of high school. Prom, in its traditional sense, marks a transition tied to education. It's about finishing high school and stepping into adulthood with a diploma in hand, which is a big deal because, see, look, man, for Black Americans, that milestone carries much deeper meaning because access to education was denied, restricted, and underfunded for us for centuries. So when a young person makes it through 14 years or 12 years of schooling and reaches that point, that celebration isn't just about dance, it's about completing something that's historically was made difficult or if not impossible for. They would unalive us for reading. And that's why the community shows up. And that's why there's so much pride attached to it. It reflects a value system that puts real weight on education, perseverance, and making it through a system that was not built for us. You understand? So in the traditional sense, it marks a transition. It's not like a quinceañera. You all know what a quinceañera is. That's when a young Hispanic woman comes of age. And they remark her entering into womanhood, but a transition into adulthood. You see? Not through education, but the mere fact that she's turned another year. It's the moment that says you made it through that to that age. Now look at what we do. You see? All right. And it's not that Black people don't recognize or respect womanhood or when a young woman becomes a woman. That's not what we're saying. Okay. But culturally making a major ceremony out of becoming a woman in the Black community has never carried the same weight for us. And there's a reason for that. Are you learning something? There's a reason for that. Because historically, Black children were not given the luxury of being children. We didn't have a childhood, especially them old folk way back in the day. Not the way other groups did. From the time of slavery moving forward, Black boys and Black girls were expected to work and contribute and carry responsibility from the moment they were physically able. They got photographs of babies, little Black children laboring in the cotton fields and laboring in the cane fields under harsh conditions, right along there with their parents and grandparents and fathers and other relatives, long before they even hit understood what childhood was supposed to be. And that experience didn't just disappear, it shaped the culture. And when you go from birth straight to responsibility without a protected period of innocence, the idea of making a transition out of childhood to adulthood or womanhood doesn't hold the same cultural importance because for many, that transition never really existed in the first place. So instead of placing emphasis on symbolic rites or passage into womanhood, the culture has historically placed more value on tangible milestones like completing school and gaining independence or achieving a stability. That's not neglecting womanhood. That's reflecting a lived experience where survival and growth took priority over ceremony. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, because see, many of you all have grandparents and great-grandparents, they didn't get to but the third grade. My grandmother would proudly tell you she made it to the 8th grade. And I'm like, the 8th grade, Grandma, that's middle school. But back then, that was a big thing. So imagine when you have a child that makes it not only past the 8th grade, but all the way through to the 12th grade and they get a diploma. You see? See, there was a time in this country when education was not just limited for black people, it was flat out denied. They would kill you for reading. And during slavery, it was illegal in many places for black people to even have any sort of education. And after slavery, access was still restricted. It was underfunded, it was controlled. Even into the 20th century, many black Americans, especially in the South, didn't have access to full schooling. You had a whole bunch of us that didn't make it past elementary school. So graduating high school, it wasn't normal. You might as well be getting a PhD. So when a black child walks across the stage after 12 years of education, they're not just celebrating the dance, they're celebrating completion, they're celebrating access, they're celebrating something that historically our ancestors were blocked from achieving. That's why celebration, that's why this is a big celebration. That's why the outfits matter. That's why the send-offs matter. That's why the community shows up, because it's not just about looking good. It's about recognizing what it took to get there, and it doesn't stop with education. And see, I don't expect people from the Caribbean and people from Africa or white people to understand that. I don't even expect you snooty black folk who live in DC and Detroit who are far removed from the South. I don't expect none of y'all to understand that because you're too far removed from the culture. You've been up there in your white enclaves and white folk, and you have a perception that I get it. I understand. You're not hood like Uncle D. Uncle D is hood. Uncle D has some money. Uncle D has a lot more education than most of y'all, but Uncle D is hood. You see, Uncle D is hood as the front of a car. Okay, for you all who don't know, that is Uncle D right there at Venice Beach in what year was that? 1995, with some Chuck Taylors and the fat shoestrings on it and the herringbone chain. This is Uncle D on 60th Street in Normandy in South Central Los Angeles. You can't just stand over there and be walking your Rottweiler if you don't know nobody over there. Uncle D is hood. Somebody type Uncle D is hood. You understand? I know y'all see I'm well dressed. I look good. I'm shaped. Uncle D hood as the front of a car. Y'all didn't know that. But anyway, so I understand the culture. I am the culture. You see? I'm in the culture. I'm not removed from the culture. Even when we're living out in LA, my family was from Mississippi. I'm the culture. Whether you like it or not. And see, and let me go. Y'all want to hear some more? I can explain some more to you. You know, my children, they are not hood. They are definitely not like me. They are definitely not like me. They are very sophisticated young people. You know, it's hard to relate with them, but they love their daddy, and that's all that matters. But another celebration that people don't understand, because you outside the culture, you don't get it. You outside the culture. You don't understand. I don't expect you to understand it. And it's something that many of you all you snooty black people are going to disagree with right now as soon as I say it. It's when black families celebrate a person being freed from prison or not being convicted of a crime. Somebody type OJ in the chat room. You see parties, you see gatherings, you see real joy. And sometimes this is as big as a graduation celebration. In some cases, it might be even bigger, right? Your cousin just got out of jail, out of prison. You don't understand why they're celebrating for him, huh? Right? You are outsider. You're not supposed to understand why. But I understand because I'm from the culture. And I know our history. This is why you're supposed to study your history. And to outsiders, it looks confusing. You think it's wrong. Why would you celebrate somebody not getting put in jail for a crime that they allegedly had done or just getting out of jail after 15, 20 years? But see, the reaction only makes sense if you ignore the history and the reality behind it. See, for Black Americans, freedom was never been something you took for granted. From the end of slavery through through systems like convict leasing and the era of Jim Crow laws and criminal justice system, and it's often been used not just to punish crime, but to control and contain Black people. Laws like vagrancy laws made it possible to arrest a Black man or a woman for something as simple as standing around without proof of employment. And once arrested, many were forced into labor under conditions that resemble slavery in every fact. And that history didn't just disappear. It shaped how generations of Black folk view the legal system. Even today, the numbers show that why the mindset still exists. Black Americans make up 13% of the population, but still we account for 450 to 500,000 incarcerated people in prisons and jails right now. Now, there's been a significant decline in mass incarceration. See, at the peak, when many of you all who are listening to me were young in the 2000s, there was 2.3 million people locked up in the United States, and there was about 870 to 920 Black Americans, mostly men. Today, it's about half that number. We're closer to 450 to 500,000. Now, nobody's going to tell you that. They want you to think everything's all bad and everything's horrible, but these young people are not going to jail like that, okay? Keep that in mind. Y'all can use those quotes. Look it up. That's a real reduction. That's over half. That's hundreds of thousands of fewer people, but the disparity hasn't disappeared. Black Americans are still incarcerated at several times the rate of white Americans. Even though more white people commit more crimes, they still put us in jail more. And you understand what I'm saying? But but here's the thing. On top of that, some of the study, you can look at the exoneration rates of Black people, and you see that we have projects like the Innocence Project. Black people are far more likely to be wrongly convicted. And in some cases, as much as 7 times more likely when it comes to serious offense. If the judge is having a bad day, you might go to jail. So when a family member throws a party for a cousin or an uncle or a brother or a father coming home from prison, what they're really saying is you made it through something that could have taken your life, your future, and your identity. That's not glorifying incarceration. That's recognizing how serious it is to lose your freedom and how meaningful it is to get it back, especially when it's so easy to have these trumped up charges. And when you compare that to something like a college graduation, it starts to make sense why celebrations can just be as big. Graduation represents achievement, yes, but coming home from prison represents survival. And in a culture shaped by a long history of having our freedom denied to us under law, because it was legal to put people in, it was legal to have Black slaves, okay? It was legal, right? In that regard, survival carries just as much weight, if not more. And that history just didn't disappear. It shaped the relationship between the Black community, the criminal justice system. And so when a Black man comes home from prison and his family throws a celebration, that's not just dysfunction. That's the community saying, you free. You made it back. You still here. You see? And so I want y'all to, that's the culture. I know y'all learning something. I'm proud of me. Anyway, let's keep it more. Another thing that they think is odd about our culture. So we talked about hood prom. We talked about why we throw parties for people who come home from prison. What about these funerals? Somebody type funeral in the chat room. I know what I said. Somebody type funeral. You know, homecoming service. Somebody type funeral. And then I said, I know funeral. I get it. Somebody type funeral. Like your great auntie would say it. Huh? Because see, right beneath the conversation about celebrating someone's home, coming home from prison, you have to understand another tradition that often gets misunderstood by outsiders. Black funerals. We call them homecoming service, going home, right? To outsiders, a funeral is supposed to be quiet, right? It's supposed to be solemn and respect, right? It's supposed to be sorrowful and pure. You know what you've been in folk funeral. You know what them folk funeral look like. It lasts about 25, 30 minutes and everybody's crying and whatnot. We do some crying too, a little wailing. But in foundational Black American culture, while there is grief, there's also celebration. And it didn't come out of nowhere. See, here's the thing you got to understand, family. For centuries, Black people in this country lived under conditions where suffering was constant. It was unavoidable. You had women who were being raped on a daily basis by multiple people, and they still had to work their finger to the bone. You had men who were being horrible things being done to them. Children taken and sold away. Can you imagine the mental anguish and torture they had to deal with? Huh? Some of y'all break up with your boyfriend and your girlfriend and you want to go jump off a bridge. You understand that? And there was no escape for us. During slavery, even long after under systems of racial oppression, we had to deal with. Look, life could be so harsh. I mean, can you imagine when life is so harsh that death was sometimes understood as a release from suffering. That doesn't mean people wanted to die or encouraged it. It means they understood in a very real way that a person who had passed away was no longer under the weight of that hardship. They were free. You understand what I'm saying? They were finally free because there was nowhere else to go. If you ran away, they caught you and bring, where you gonna go? You ain't going nowhere. So in that context, a Black funeral wasn't just about loss. It was about acknowledging that a person had endured, had made it through, and was now finally at rest. And that's where the celebration comes from. See, Black homecoming services include music, they include singing, they include storytelling, and moments of joy alongside mourning. You might hear gospel songs. You see people dressed in their best. You watching family members share stories and bring both tears. Somebody's gonna bring the potato salad, real potato salad. You understand what I'm saying? So you go to a Black family after the services, or after they put somebody in the ground, they might be playing music. It's joyous. They're free. That's intentional. It reflects a belief system rooted in faith, resilience, and the idea that life continues beyond this one. It's not about ignoring pain. It's not about refusing to let pain. It's about refusing to let pain be the only story told. And historically, these gatherings were also one of the few spaces where Black people could come together and freely express their emotions openly and reinforce community bonds. In a society that restricted our movement and our voice and our expressions, funerals became one of the few moments where people could fully show up for one another. And so when people look at Black funerals and think it's too celebratory, they're too loud, they're not serious, they're mocking the dead, they're missing the point. What they're seeing isn't disrespect. It's a different relationship to life and death, shaped by history, shaped by our culture. It's a recognition that a person's life mattered, that their struggle is over, and that the story deserves to be honored in a full way, not just through silence, but through expression. Shout out to Few Kwan. And in a sense, just like celebrating someone coming home from prison, homegoing services is about freedom. Freedom from suffering, freedom from hardship, freedom from a world that didn't always treat us like we were human beings. And when you understand that, the music and the gathering and the celebration, it makes sense. But you got to understand the culture. You can't be removed from the culture to understand that. Now I'm gonna give y'all some more, because we in it now, and we gonna learn something. And you can stay or you can leave. I know y'all probably got something else to do, but I'm gonna keep on talking. You understand? Another tradition. Somebody type the cookout. You hear white people talking about, can they come to the cookout? I hear it all the time. Everybody wants to come to the cookout. They don't even understand what it is. It's just a barbecue. What's so good about it? I don't understand, right? See, to outsiders, it just looked like barbecue, food, music, people talking. But historically, it's much deeper than that. There was a time, especially during slavery, when families could be separated at any moment. One of the most painful examples was what enslaved people call hiring day or New Year's Day. This is the first, it's January 1st, when enslaved men and women and children were leased out or sold, sometimes to different owners, different families. They were split apart, sent all across the southern United States, everywhere. And they could be gone for months or years or a lifetime before they saw each other again. And that reality didn't just disappear after slavery ended. It carried forward through migration, economic hardship, and the need to move for survival. People didn't have cell phones back then. You had an old relative way out in the country somewhere. You wasn't going to talk to your mama or grandma. Next time you just hear about who died. Somebody would have to come from Mississippi to Chicago to let you know what was going on back home. A home that you might hadn't seen for 10 or 15 years. And so during the 20th century, many Black families were still being separated. And this time it was through the Great Migration when millions left the South for cities in the North and the Midwest to escape violence and segregation and limited opportunity. People left places like Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. It was real pressure and sometimes even fear for their lives. And they moved places like Chicago and Detroit, New York, and Indiana, and Ohio, states like Ohio. They moved, Wisconsin. And once they moved, communication wasn't easy. Like I said, there was no text messages and cell phones. There was no quick travel. You might go years without seeing close family members, people you love, parents, siblings, even your own children in some cases. Shout out to Big J. So when families did come together for the cookout or the family reunion, when you did get together for the cookout, it became it became more than a meal. It became a reunion point, a space to reconnect, to see who made it, who grew up, who survived. You got food, you got music, you got laughter, you got storytelling. All of it serves as a purpose. It's about rebuilding bonds. We are social creatures. We're human beings. This is social bonding. And so bonds that were historically broken, sometimes repeatedly. It was about creating a sense of continuity, introducing your children to their cousins, introducing your children to their grandparents, letting them see where you grew up. You see? So when you see Black families talking about the cookout, that's big, it's loud, it's full of life, it's full of joy, you understand what they're looking at. It's not just the barbecue. It's a reunion of sorts. You're looking at people who for generations were denied stable family structures, denied the ability to stay together and because of the law and because of the way the system was set up, and still found a way to rebuild those connections. What looks casual on the surface is actually deeply rooted in history. It's not just a cookout, it's a reunion, it's a restoration, it's a community being put back together, even if it's just for a day. Now, another thing, because they putting judgments on our value system, right? Let me tell you something else. A lot of you very successful Black people, you still want to see your sons especially do well in athletics, don't you? Why is that? Huh? Not because you can. It seems like it wouldn't be a big deal. But let me try to explain yourselves to yourself. Shout out to Yaya's kids. What's up, baby? Let me try to explain you to you, because many of you all are so far removed. You've rejected the culture. You don't even understand your operating system. All right, so let's look at this. In the mid 20th century, you had a large share of Black Americans, they lived in poverty. It was about 60% of Black people lived below the poverty line. And I'm talking about 1965, okay? Lived below the poverty line, okay? That's 1965. That's not that long ago. That's within basically a few years before my life started, right? We were still close to an agrarian way of life shaped by sharecropping and farm labor. Many of you had family members who were sharecroppers. There was pockets of prosperity. You had folks in Detroit and LA and New York, Black folk doing well. But for most Black people, the options were limited. And in that environment, your physical ability, your strength, your speed, your endurance, it was one of the few traits that could be translated into recognition or opportunity. Even going back to the plantation, right? If your output and your stamina were noticed by the boss man or the overseer, families took pride in how much cotton you can pick. Because if you could pick a lot of cotton and you could chop a lot of sugar cane, you probably wasn't gonna get sold on hiring day. Master was gonna keep you around. So your physical fitness was something that was rewarded. My grandmother used to tell us about measuring the day's work. And that lady that you see right there over here, grandma, that's my grandma Elmira King right there. I think y'all should be able to see her. That's my grandmother right there. She picked cotton until she was 60-some years old. And she reflected oftentimes on her life, and she was something she was very proud of. I grew up listening to this. She would tell me how she could pick as much cotton as a man. And back then, apparently 200 pounds of cotton was a big deal. 200 pounds of cotton. That woman was probably about 5'8", 5'9". That's where I get my height from. My grandma was about 5'9" or so. And she was proud of the fact that she could pick about 200 pounds of cotton. And that's as much as a man could pick. Most of the women picked about 100 pounds of cotton. She picked about 200 pounds of cotton a day. Okay, and then she would go down to Clarksdale and sell her fruit and vegetables and stuff in the evening. And often would have my children along with her. Now, mind you, they would we talk about multiple football fields, rows of cotton. They'd have to walk up and down these cotton fields all day with 200-pound sack dragging behind them. And she was proud of that. And she was proud of her sons who could do that. Okay, and that's how she measured her value. Okay. And it reflected her lived reality. So it makes sense that communities learn to celebrate physical accomplishments, and that cultural habit didn't come from nowhere. It grew up out of what helped our people endure at times get ahead. And that's why even today, a big play in middle school in a game or a standout performance, and is a milestone in youth sports, but it's celebrated in a big way that's why we celebrate that. And it's not just about the scoreboard. It's about the discipline, the effort, the possibility of those achievements, and how they could possibly lead to some scholarship. What might look like an overreaction to outsiders is really a continuation of a long-standing value, recognizing strength that has closed historical doors that were open to us. See, we were poor, but these guys got rich doing that. Now, it's changed. Things have changed now, haven't they? See, historical data supports just how central sports were as a pathway to success in the middle class. Let's look at the Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball back in the day, American players in the 1970s were 18 to 19% of the league, but the data numbers dropped to like 6 to 7%. And at the same time, the league has seen a major rise in players from Latin America, especially countries like the DR and Venezuela, where baseball has become a primary way out of poverty. In other words, the role that baseball once played for foundational Black Americans, in part, has shifted to other communities that are facing similar economic pressures. You see a similar trend in boxing. If you go back to the 1970s and 80s and 90s, I mean, boxing was dominated by Black American fighters because it required minimal resources to enter, and it offered a direct route to financial success. Today, boxing is far more global, with champions coming from everywhere. Again, it's not about loss of ability. If you put enough Black men together, you can have a hell of a team. We still have the genetics for it, okay? But the drive is not there, okay? And so as more Black Americans have access to education and professional careers, you're going to see few of us want to jump in the ring and get boxed up. Like, you see that little boy that I got right here? The little one who showed up, he would be a hell of a cornerback. If it was 1989, he'd be a hell of a cornerback. Good length, good arms, good length, good stamina, real strong. But it's not there. He's going to go to medical school. You see? So what I'm saying is, because of the access to education and because his daddy's a lawyer and takes care of him, he has access to a professional career. So he's not going to be forced to rely on physically demanding or high-risk sports just to enter a path of middle class of success. At the same time, it's also true that the landscape is changing. Compared to the past, there's a lot more Black folks in the middle class. Many of you all listening to me right now have professional careers. You're entrepreneurs. You got more Black Americans. Look, there are now millions of Black middle class households. And there's an estimate that there's 1.7 million Black millionaires in the United States. And they got studies showing that there's a significant percentage of Black Americans have reached the middle class. I think it's over 60%. More than 60% of Black men alone reach the middle class by the time they're middle aged. We don't have to put our kids in boxing. So you don't see the same concentration in certain sports as it was in previous. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just saying it's not as many of us because we have other paths to success. You see, again, it's not the ability has disappeared. It's that we have other viable options. You understand? So the culture reflects both the realities at once. We still celebrate athletic success because it's rooted in history and community values, but it's no longer the only path people feel they have. It has, as opportunities have broadened, the celebration remains, but it sits alongside a wider range of goals and achievements. You understand? Now, let's just be honest. Okay, are y'all still with me? Let me know. Are you learning something? Let's really explain what's really going on. Okay, what's the real problem? And you know how we got here today. Let's go back to this little young lady. Let's go back so we can recap. I want you to see how we really got here today. How did this start? Where did we start? Why are we here? Hit the number one button.
Whether subconsciously or consciously, that they're just going to become somebody's baby mama. So they're substituting their wedding with prom. And I've pissed off the Black community with saying that. Put an emphasis on having the father in the home. Put an emphasis on not having children before marriage. Put an emphasis on raising happy, healthy communities and making sure a child has two happy, healthy parents and one happy, healthy home. Because like I said in my original videos, I don't have a dad myself. I know what it's like.
Yes. Okay, little white girl. Why are we here? Let's keep listening. Why are we here?
Is hood prom and baby mama culture are like this. You can't have one without the other. You can't have hood prom or the baby shower stuff or the gender reveals or anything like that without baby mama culture. Because the reason why the dresses are so extravagant in the cars and the show and the presentation is because this is the closest these girls will ever get to being a bride. In the Black community, I'm sorry to say it, actually, no, I'm not, because it's the truth, especially.
This is why we here. This is what we took, because we had this little powdered donut princess getting all in our business. So this is why I'm taking the time to explain why this is manifesting in our culture, okay? Why we celebrate the prom. And I think I adequately did that. We're going to let her keep listening so y'all can continue to be aggravated.
Especially in lower income households, there's not as much of an
in other words, y'all broke. Y'all too broke to celebrate prom. That's what she's saying about Black people. Let's go.
Emphasis on family anymore. These kids aren't getting married. They're going to be baby mamas and baby daddies, so they're never going to have a wedding. These girls are never going to walk down the aisle. Some of them probably will. Put things.
Are you gonna walk down the aisle? That's what we need to know. You need to go walk down the aisle.
Exists is because the Black community does not put enough emphasis on having the father in the home. And please know, I'm fatherless myself. This is a pot calling the kettle black.
Anyway, we don't need to.
I know it because I've lived it.
This is how we got here. This is why we're here today. This is why we decided to address methane. All right. So what do you think the real issue is? Huh? What is the real issue? Shout out to everybody contributing to the Cash App too, baby. I appreciate y'all. What is the real issue? Why, what is it? Okay. Now, see, this is what we got to do. Let's step back and look at this honestly. What are Black Americans celebrating? We're celebrating education, something denied for centuries. Celebrating freedom, something denied for centuries. Celebrating survival. These are all the things they complain about. Progress, milestones. We're celebrating homegoing services where life is honored, not just mourned. We're celebrating relatives coming home from prison because freedom still matters to us. We're celebrating cookouts and reunions because families were once torn apart and had to fight to stay connected. We're celebrating athletic achievement because generations of physical excellence you got rewarded for that on the plantation where you could pick all that cotton and do all that work. Shout out to B. Hunter. And that's not a broken value system, family. That is not a broken value system. That's historically an informed value system. And this is where the real tension comes in, because when people see Black joy, unapologetic, visible, expressive joy, they don't process it as joy. They reinterpret it, they shrink it, they try to explain it away. A prom becomes a ghetto prom. A graduation becomes money spent on graduation becomes wasted priorities. A homecoming prom, a homecoming from prison becomes glorifying the wrong things. A funeral becomes too celebratory, not solemn enough. And a cookout becomes what? It becomes extravagant or hood or whatever. But the celebration itself gets turned into a problem. It's the celebration that they have a problem with. Okay? Because see, we need to be honest about what's really going on. There are people in the dominant society who have been conditioned consciously and unconsciously to measure their position by comparison to us. And when the expectation is that Black life should be defined by struggle, then visible joy disrupts that expectation. It creates friction in their own little mayonnaise-like mind. Because now the image they've been taught doesn't line up with what they're seeing. So what happens? They look for a way to explain it away. They say, oh, it's irresponsible. They say it's excessive. They say it's misdirected. That little white girl ain't got a daddy in her life and she worried about what you doing. She needs to look in the mirror, right? See, it's not that the celebration itself is wrong, but because it doesn't fit the narrative that they're comfortable with. And see, and historically, you see this pattern. Periods of social tension and backlash by white folk often line up with moments when they feel uncertain about their own standing and social standing and money and financial situation. When that happens, these same people look for explanations and comparisons and sometimes ways to reassert control over how things are interpreted and how we feel. They want to kill some of that Black joy. That Black expression, especially joy, becomes something they try to reframe or destroy it. Because joy, when it's visible and undeniable, it challenges those assumptions. It challenges the idea that struggle is the only story that Black Americans are supposed to be able to tell. You see? It challenges the idea that success has to look a certain way, and it typically has to be white, according to them. It challenged the idea that value is determined from the outside. So when Black people celebrate, whether it's a prom or graduation or freedom or just being alive, it does more than mark a moment. It disrupts expectation. It says, we define what matters to us. And for some people, you know what people I'm talking about, that is very uncomfortable. But the truth is simple. Black joy itself becomes the problem for people who are uncomfortable with it. And once you understand what's being celebrated, the stops making sense. You celebrating kids graduating from high school? They should be having 2 or 3 parties for that. But see, once you realize that, what you're left with is not a genuine concern. It's discomfort. It's discomfort with the fact that despite everything we've had to deal with, we still find joy. We're still joyful. And no label, hood prom or anything else, is going to take that away. So what's the real problem? The real problem is anti-Black racism mixed with insecurity and jealousy and the need to feel superior. And white people have been brainwashed to believe that Black people are supposed to be beneath them. And so when they see Black people succeeding and celebrating and building businesses and graduating or simply living well, it disrupts that worldview. Like that white man to keep asking my son if that's his car, like a broken record. But instead of accepting that Black people can be talented and disciplined and intelligent and successful on their own merit, they search for excuses. Here's one: DEI, cheating, lower standards, handouts, or some other explanation that makes Black achievement seem illegitimate. So the issue isn't really prom, it's not money. They don't give a damn about you and whether or not you go to college. You think they want you to go to school? Huh? You think they care about the Black family structure so much that they're concerned about single mothers? They need to focus on their own 600,000 single mothers that they making every year. Where them white boys at that keep knocking these white women up and now they're giving birth to these single mothers? They're not concerned about family structure. If they would, they'd be concerned about their own. The issue is Black joy. The issue is Black success. because that makes these white folk uncomfortable because it forces them to face the truth that they were lied to, that they were never better in the first damn place. And there's a quote by Lyndon B. Johnson that sums this up. If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. That was the Lyndon B. Johnson, that was the president that figured that out years ago. See, white folks are now having to come to the reality. Poor white people, shout out to all the poor white folks. I'm not talking to the elites. The elite white people have been knowing this, okay? I'm talking about you poor whites that are listening to this broadcast right now. All you poor white people, you are the biggest fools on the planet, because the rich white folk have left you all befuddled and dumbfounded for centuries. They don't like you either. You think Trump like you, he don't like you either. And you poor white people are having to come to the reality that you were just the beneficiary of a racist caste system that granted some of you all some minor benefits because of your so-called race. And you see this whole system failing around you right now. So the real problem is anti-black racism. White folks have based how well they're doing on how bad all black people are doing. That's why it's called anti-black racism. There was a lady, beautiful lady, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who always spoke about how black is on the bottom and white is on top. You see? And so they base how well they're doing on how bad off you're doing. Latinos try to do the same thing. Asians try to do the same thing. Arabs try to do the same thing. And we just supersede and pass up all of them. And they don't understand it. That's why they got black fatigue. They tired of seeing us winning. Somebody type that. That's where the black fatigue is coming from. If we were somewhere poor and dismal and doing bad for ourselves, they wouldn't pay any attention to us, because they see y'all around here riding around in your big German cars with your nails done and your hair fly, going on vacations and trips. All they want to do is bring up the bad news. That's like you see somebody shining and looking good, you constantly try to throw manure on them. See, when they see black people objectively doing well for themselves, living well, eating well, celebrating, succeeding, they're not having the same experience. They have to develop some kind of reason for why that is. These folk are addicted to drugs right now. White folk have problems, man. This system is fit. White supremacy was affirmative action for white folk. They're doing bad. And so what they'll do now is they're trying to turn black success into some kind of pathology or suspicion. If they see a black person as a medical doctor or a nurse or running a successful business or a pilot, they'll say, oh, DEI. But the irony is this, family. The irony is that the primary beneficiaries of affirmative action and DEI type programs were white women, not black people. So the same people using DEI as a slur against black achievement usually don't even understand how these programs actually work in practice. They help white folks. They just use the word as a way to say you didn't earn it. That's what this is about. And if a black student gets the highest grades in the class and graduates valedictorian, they'll say he cheated or she cheated because they were not trained to just accept the possibility that this black person earned it. You see a whole bunch of white folk talking about IQ. You see all these knuckleheads on the internet, high IQ. Well, the reason they talk about high IQ because you see a lot of black people outperforming all of these white folk that are talking about high IQ. And so in their mind, they have to find a way. They have low IQ, but he's richer than you. Well, he still must have a low IQ, but he got more education than you. With DEI, they got to find some way to escape so they can continue living in that delusional reality. They cannot accept the fact that there may be in this world of worlds black people who are better than them. In that moment, it just drives them crazy. Oh my God! But see, it's white people. They have fed into this racist rhetoric for hundreds of years, telling them that they're superior. And some of that came through religion. Some of it came through the politics. A lot of it came through media, whether we talk about newspapers, film, TV. Okay, some of it was been dressed up in the science. You got a whole white racist pseudoscience like eugenics and race IQ theories and so-called scientific racism, claiming that black people were naturally inferior, less intelligent, more criminal, less civilized. And the media helped carry that message for years. You got the minstrel shows. They would pay to see it. But I told my son the other day, I said, if you ever want to make a bunch of money, all you got to do is open a shoe shine shop in like an airport somewhere. Them white folk will pay you $50 to shine their shoes for 5 minutes. And you could make thousands of dollars a day just because white men want to see black people subservient. You could literally, it was black people, they called them porters, shoe shine. They will give you hundreds of dollars just to shine their shoes. It is a status symbol to have a black person as a driver or a servant. You understand what I'm saying? This is how they need to feed that. It makes them feel good. Crazy. When you understand when you really understand racism and the effect it has on white people, you could literally turn it on them and begin to use it against them. You could extract all that money out of them real quick. Now, everybody try to steal it back. But the bottom line is minstrel shows, racist cartoons, newspaper films, and television. It all helped create this repeat stereotype, and it made black people look foolish and dangerous and lazy or unworthy. Hell, you go to the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History, if it's still there. And the culture, it describes how stereotypes like the mammy were built during slavery and popularized through minstrel shows just to justify slavery and racial hierarchy. Who do you think Oprah Winfrey represented to them? She was their mammy. They made her rich for that. You see? A lot of these YouTubers on the internet, a lot of these black YouTubers on the internet, they just modern day minstrel shows. They just parroted and saying the same thing the white folk want to say. That's what it is. But objectively speaking, white people, you just human beings just like the rest of us. Now, that doesn't mean white folk don't have their own great qualities and talents and accomplishments. White folks, all the white folk, come on in, white people. I know I've been on you for a minute. It's your day. I know, the Latinos caught hell. Everybody catches hell over here. It's the truth. I'm the Blizzard King. White people have done a great job at organizing the human and natural resources on this planet. Nobody else has done it like white people. You got to give them that credit. White people have organized and over there and over there. We'll give this. They've done a great job organizing the resources on this planet, haven't they? Now, they ain't shared them with you. They've hoarded them all themselves, but they got great organizational skills, okay? And there's a place in middle management for white people in the future of the earth. Let's not get rid of them. We need them. Don't. Everybody has a place on this planet. But right now, they having to come to some reconciliations about who they really are, and they're going to have to be deprogrammed with the brainwashing. But the bottom line is, every group individually, every group of people collectively, they have their own accomplishments and contributions to the human family, okay? But white folk need to realize you're not Superman. You just who you are, okay? It simply means that they're not automatically better than anyone else, okay? And so when reality doesn't match that brainwashing, they have to reconcile their shortcomings and imperfections with this false belief that they're superior. And too often, the only conclusion they can reach is that black persons must be cheating, because all this other brainwashing that I heard, that has to be true. I have to be superior. So if I'm superior and they're still beating me, they must be cheating, or they're benefiting in some unfair advantage or doing something they shouldn't be doing. And when there's no logical explanation, this is where it gets dangerous. See, when there's no logical explanation they find acceptable, that's when they lash out. That's when the shootings start. That's when the firebombing start. That's when you got these little people out here acting crazy right now. They lashing out. You see it? You know what I'm talking about? You see how these white folk are cutting up out here and talk about what they're going to do and talking about civil war? Y'all see it? I mean, I know you see it, right? Here's one. Somebody type Jazz Fest in the chat.
Was on his way to Jazz Fest in New Orleans with a handgun and hundreds of rounds of ammunition. What allegedly motivated him to do such harm? CBS News.
What motivated this white man from South Carolina to do some harm to Jazz Fest? What do you think?
Correspondent Christian Benavides has details.
45-year-old Christopher Gillum, a former law enforcement officer in North Carolina for over 15 years, is accused of planning to carry out a mass shooting. Authorities say they detained him at a hotel in Destin, Florida overnight, recovering this handgun and 200 rounds of ammunition. CBS News has learned Gillum planned to target the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, which...
What we got to do with him? You understand what I'm saying? What is he mad at? What is he mad at? You got white folk going to black churches where we celebrate. White folk going to festivals where we celebrate. Why is that? Somebody type Black Joy is the problem in the chat.
Draws about 500,000 people over the course of 2 long weekends. Today is the first day. A law enforcement source tells CBS News that Gillum had apparently made statements about killing black people.
You hear that? This is from today. This is from today. Okay? This is what happens when those white supremacist ideals and that brainwashing collides with reality. Black people are doing very well for ourselves, better than him. And what do you think that does to him?
Police say he then planned to commit suicide by cop.
This is someone who would have knowledge.
He gonna unalive. I mean, just think about that. Why don't you just skip to the unaliving yourself? You understand what I mean? But he wanted to get that satisfaction. This is what happens when your brainwashing doesn't agree with reality. This is why it's so dangerous for people to live in delusion. You understand? But let's keep listening.
Of how law enforcement would respond. He would have great knowledge of how law enforcement would respond.
Robert Crispin spent over 35 years in local and federal law enforcement.
He is a much worse threat than the average person who has no firearm training, who has no law enforcement training. People in law enforcement know how to cover and conceal. They know they have to get in, get out.
Authorities were alerted after Gillum's family reported him missing on Tuesday, according to the Associated Press. Police in Florida say they were able to track him down using license plate readers Wednesday night.
They tracked him down with them license plate readers. Thank God for the keep going.
Christopher Gillum is accused of making terroristic threats. He will be extradited to Louisiana. We reached his family by phone, and they said they had no comment.
Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? His family snitched on him. They knew who he were. And the cold part about it is a whole bunch of angry folk running around there. But again, this is when that's the lashing out. That's when the firebombing started. That's black during the civil rights movement. You had all these people attacking black people just because we wanted rights that were already on the books. Okay? That's when they began taking it out on our black communities and trying to change policies because when they can't compete, they cheat. You understand? When they can't compete, they cheat. That's what happened in Red Summer. That's what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. For you all who don't know, you should look up Red Summer 1990. We're going through something like that right now. People that fought for World War I and came home with expectations of citizenship and dignity, and these white folk attacked black communities and cities across the country. You understand me? The violence of Red Summer affected 26 cities. They burned down homes and businesses and burned up people, shot people, lynched people. You understand what I'm saying? Hell, the damn SAT. Did you know there was no SAT before 1926? It was developed by a man named Carl Brigham. He was a Princeton psychologist, and he was connected to the eugenics movement. Do you know what the eugenics movement is? This man argued that racial and ethnic hierarchy through testing before later walking it back, but that was his earlier claims. But the damage was done. The idea that intelligence could be cleanly ranked and sorted through supposedly objective tests, it became how schools and colleges control access. You got to understand something. Slavery ended. Black people began to do well for ourselves. We were starting to send our children to college and getting higher education. So what did they do? They said, well, we need to come up with a way we can keep these folk out of here. Okay? So you had to pass the SAT and get an adequate score to get in. See, when black people start pushing into higher education, these objective gates became more powerful. And even though their origins were tied to racist and eugenics assumptions. And so you saw the same thing happen in sports. Once black folk began to get in there and dominate, once black athletes began competing and winning, the rules and the narrative start changing. In college basketball, for example, did you know they had banned the slam dunk between 1967 and 1976? They banned slam dunking. And the rule was connected to the dominance of Lou Alcindor. You all know him as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I remember watching him play as a young boy growing up in LA on the Los Angeles Lakers with Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers. I remember that, man. You understand? They banned slam dunking because Kareem kept bashing everybody on the court. That's not fair. White boys couldn't do it. They had this movie out way back in the day called White Boys Can't Jump. White Men Can't Jump. Funny. But the point is not that every rule change in sports was only about race, but the pattern is clear enough to recognize when black excellence becomes undeniable, the response is often to discredit it or restrict it or rename it or regulate it or change the rules around it. Family, do you realize that under the civil rights, you got to see them. See, y'all looking at this in the abstract, okay? But those laws fundamentally change how the country was allowed to treat Black Americans, and it started with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That was 60 years ago. The Voting Rights Acts of 1965, Fair Housing in 1968. They didn't just promote equality, they dismantled a legal system that had openly enforced inequality. You couldn't come up for generations. You couldn't. It wasn't nothing happening. You understand? Freedom for Black Americans should have began in 1865 at the end of the Civil War. Okay? That's about, what, 150 years ago now? More or less. That's when it should have started. It should have started 150 years ago. But for the next 100 years, our freedom was restricted. Our movement was restricted. Our ability to accumulate wealth was restricted. Some of it was just straight up snatched away from us, and we couldn't use the legal system to get it back. All of that was denied to us up until 1965. So when I talk about this, I want you to understand that Generation X is the first generation of fully free Black people. Let me run that back to you guys. I don't think y'all understand. Generation X, where my X generations at? Type X in the chat room. You are the first generation of fully free Black people in this country. You understand that? It's when the federal government finally stepped in and tore down the legal system that supported segregation and discrimination. Financial. Civil Rights Act 1964. It made it illegal to separate people by race from, you couldn't go to a restaurant, you couldn't go to a hotel, you couldn't go to school, you couldn't get the job here, you couldn't use the public accommodations. In simple terms, it shut down the Jim Crow system. It shut down that whole separate but equal that controlled everyday life. You couldn't go to the bank today. You couldn't go here today. You couldn't run your business like you wanted to. Girl, you ain't gonna get no nail shop. It ain't your day to come in. You can't even operate in this part of town. So how can you open a business up? You can't even open a bank account. Black Americans could be legally turned away from a job or refused service anywhere just because of your race. And then you came to voting rights. There's nothing you could do about it. You couldn't even vote for who you wanted to vote for. They had to remove those barriers. Even if you wanted to vote, they had things like a literacy test or a poll tax. You understand what I'm saying? So before 1965, before my generation X was born, or that year, black folk, especially down south, you were blocked from pretty much everything that could help you attain wealth in life. And then, of course, there's a few years later, they came up with the Fair Housing Act. You couldn't live where you wanted to live. You live 50, 60 miles away from your job. You're not going to be able to get to work. It's not going to happen. Not and live in the household. That banned those practices. Now you can live where you work. You could use the bus. You could open a bank account. How you going to just keep, that's why black folks used to put money in the chicken coop. They couldn't put their money in the bank. And the cold part about it, when we did get our own banks, white folk came in and took millions of dollars out of it, embezzled it. But you couldn't go to the best schools. They were controlled by white folk. And before these laws, the discrimination wasn't hidden. It wasn't subtle. It was part of the system. Shout out to Flowers Galore. It was part of the system. You could be denied service at a restaurant, a hotel. Your children could be forced to segregated, underfunded schools. Nowhere to sit. They had to stand up all day. You think them children are gonna learn something? They got to sit on the floor and stand up all day. No heat in the winter, no cool air in the summer. No. Your schools are underfunded. They were too small. You couldn't vote. You understand? So when people compare generations without understanding this, they missed a bigger point. The rules themselves were completely different right now. And we as Generation X are the first generation of fully free black people. That's only been 60 years. When did Generation X pop up? 1965 to 1980. Look, the oldest members were born the same year the Voting Rights Act was passed. So technically, it wasn't passed. You still wasn't quite free. You had about another 6 to 8 months. But the youngest were born in the 1980s after the civil rights laws had taken place. And so for the first time in American history, you have a generation of black Americans born into a system where segregation is illegal. Voting rights are protected by federal law and housing discrimination is banned. And look at all Generation X has done. Look at all these millionaires and billionaires we've made. Once they took the shackles off, the social shackles off of us. Think about that. It's only been 60 years and look at the progress. They let us out the gate 60 years ago. And we've been running. And we have 400 years of distance to make up. And look at us now. Think about that. Our parents, our grandparents were born into a system. They weren't even allowed to vote. Your grandparents, your parents, if they were born in the 50s, they couldn't vote, not risk their lives. They couldn't live where they wanted to live. They didn't have the opportunities that you have. I'm talking about Generation X, and y'all think y'all relatively young, don't y'all? Y'all still think I look good. You still relatively young. Some of y'all, hell, some of you all are in your 40s. Think about that. First generation of black people born after those barriers were officially removed. That doesn't mean everything became equal overnight. It doesn't mean discrimination disappeared, but something major did change. The law's no longer openly working against you like it used to. The system, at least on paper, had to recognize you as a full citizen. So instead of just saying Generation X is, this whatever, look how remarkable we are. You see? From 1865 to 1965, freedom existed, but it was limited and it was denied. It wasn't until 1965 with Generation X, black folk, you finally have a generation born into a country where freedom wasn't just the idea, it was something you could stand on, claim, and defend under the law. You wonder why we moving back down south now? Our generation, shout out to all the folk in general. You see why we moving back down south? Because they had to lift those laws. You see? That's why we went to college down south in Alabama, Mississippi, Louis. We wasn't going back there before 1965. Hell no. We just left. It wasn't until the 80s and 90s we start going back because the laws changed. I'm going to re-emphasize. I need y'all to understand that. I hope I hit you right where I need to hit you. Generation X is the first generation of Black Americans born in the United States that are fully free. Where everybody, all these institutions, all these private are forced by law to stop openly denying our full participation in society. That's a major shift. And it changed what it meant to grow up Black in America. Do you all understand that? That is amazing. Now, another thing I want to bring in is I want to kind of explain something to you. See, there's a misconception. Black people, we never wanted to sit up next to white people. We always talk about civil rights, and I'm gonna talk to y'all a lot about this in the coming. We didn't want to sit up next to white people for the sake of sitting up next to white people. We didn't integrate because we didn't want to. That wasn't what we had to. We used integration as pressure. Let me give you some game. What we wanted was our money. And when I say money, I mean we wanted our tax dollars to be properly spent on our public facilities, our schools, and our communities, and our parks, and our neighborhoods. For decades, Black folk paid taxes like everybody else, but those dollars were diverted to the white communities, while Black communities were left underfunded and unequal resource. The white communities start here, the Black communities start here. All the potholes on the streets in the white community are fixed, but as soon as you go across the train track, all these potholes, they're using your money that you pay in your taxes to fix the white people's potholes along with the money that the white people spend. Think about that. How would you feel? Now, apply that to a broader public service like schools, parks. White people got palm trees and swimming pools over there, and they using your money to put the palm trees in the swimming pools, and you don't get you got this old dirt patch over here. This is what you need to understand. So our ancestors look at that and they gave out a collective hell no. That's what it was about. I worked too damn hard for that. You see? Again, we paid taxes for decades, and they took the Black dollars and diverted them to the white communities and left the Black folk underfunded with unequal resources. That wasn't just a feeling. That was the structure of the segregation system under Jim Crow. Even after cases like Brown versus the Board of Education declared that segregated schools are unconstitutional. And so here's the thing. The white officials, they would take the tax dollars from Black people that we put, and they would funnel it over to the white infrastructure and the public facilities, and the Black schools and services were neglected. So here's what our civil rights leaders said. This is what they said. What would you do? What's the biggest threat that we have? Strategic move. Nobody else is going to tell you about this because ain't nobody else read it. They won't read it. A lot of these, let me tell y'all, I'm going to take a point of personal preference. A lot of these people who teach African studies, especially on the East Coast, these people who are not foundational Black American, who don't have any history or knowledge of the code, they don't know nothing. They don't know, okay? Shout out to the Rogers Report. Hey, what's up, Rogers Report? Shout out. They don't know. You can't expect them to know because they're not of the culture. They haven't read. They haven't talked to the people. I could tell you my grandma and grandpa and uncles would tell you what life was like, and you could quickly put it together. But if they hadn't had those conversations around sitting on my grandma's couch with the plastic on it, as she watched The Price is Right, and Hulk Hogan in the WWF, she, you know what I'm saying? She loved old racist ass Hulk Hogan. But the bottom line is, you could hear these conversations. You would hear that. So let me tell you what our civil rights leaders, what the strategic move was. They said, in effect, either you allocate those resources fairly and give us what we're owed, and you start spending our money on our schools and our money on our roads and our money on our parks and our neighborhoods. Either you give us our money and you split it up fairly and give us what we owe, right? Or we coming to your schools. We're going to force the law to change. We gonna get what's ours. We're gonna come into the same schools and the spaces, and we're gonna follow our money. That's what we're gonna do. Because we know that our money has helped you all fund your lifestyle. You see? And that's where the laws, and can you imagine that? Think about that. The threat was, that's the threat. You see, we're gonna force this civil rights desegregation into these public spaces. You see? You ain't gonna be able to keep us out because we've made progress. We know what we can do. Either give us our money or we're gonna come up sit next to you. Thurgood Marshall has a book. This was the legal strategy of the NAACP. They didn't start from a position that black people simply wanted to go sit up next to white people or be in white people's schools for that sake. We had our own damn universities and neighborhoods and what, we didn't care about what they were doing. We had our own movies and buses and hotels and entertainment. We had everything. We just wanted our money. The entire argument was built on the fact that segregated systems were unequal in funding and facilities and opportunity. We could have fixed that if they just gave us our money, our tax dollars. And that's what eventually led to Brown versus the Board of Education. Y'all supposed to give us our money. It was inherently unequal, separate. That's what they ended up coming up with. That wasn't the original outcome. They just wanted their money. We just wanted our money. We were our schools were underfunded, overcrowded. They didn't have the resources that the white folk had, even though black folk were paying into the tax system. Again, they would take our money and our tax dollars and give it to white folks to pay their teachers and build their schools bigger and enhance their facilities. Black American paid taxes just like everybody else, but we didn't receive an equal public investment in the return. And that wasn't just one place, it was system-wide. You see? So we would basically help fund a system that didn't invest back into us. So again, the focus was not on proximity, it was about equal access. And here's the thing, you see the threat? Either you are gonna give us our money or we're gonna have our big black sons come over there and sit next to your lily white daughters. That's what you're gonna do. You see what I'm saying? That was the threat. Again, we didn't need what white folk had. We had places like Dunbar High School, okay? Again, black people already had communities, already had strong institutions. We had schools, we had teachers, we had cultures of excellence. As I said, Dunbar High School, I think was in Washington, D.C., is a clear example. This wasn't just any school. It was one of the most academically elite high schools in the country during the height of segregation. It was located right there in the nation's capital, Dunbar High. It had faculty filled with highly educated black leaders. Many of them had advanced degrees because segregation limited where they could work. And so as a result, all these intelligent, highly educated black folk taught at the black schools. You had candidates like Charles Drew. This man was a pioneer in blood banking. Benjamin O. Davis Jr., Tuskegee Airmen, all these great leaders from the past, many of them went to they were funneled through these same high schools. Robert Weaver, first black cabinet member of the United States history. These weren't isolated cases, and that you can look at all throughout America. Shout out to all my people who went to Jack Yates High School over in 3rd Ward, Texas, Houston, 1926. It became one of the most important black institutions in Texas. We talking about a high school. You had generations of professionals and civic leaders and athletes. They went to Jack Yates, went across the street to TSU, or they went up to Prairie View. You understand? It was a training ground for discipline and pride and upward mobility in a segregated system, and it offered fewer. You understand what I'm saying? St. Louis, all my people in the loop. Summer High School, first black high school west of the Mississippi. It produces Chuck Berry, Arthur Ashe, and whatever you say. Chuck Berry was a great businessman. Motown. So different regions of the country had different places. Even South LA, I think it was Vernon Avenue High School. in Los Angeles. But the key point is the issue was, it was never whether black communities could build strong institutions. We could. You leave us alone, we'll be fine. You keep messing with us, this is what holds us back. But if they leave us alone, we can build, we'll be fine. Black people come together like that and build. So the question was, what would happen if those, that's not the question, is what would happen if those institutions were given the money that we were supposed to get. They knew what we would do, because we were showing them, this is what we're gonna do. Isn't this a good thing? But remember, they got a problem with black joy and black success. And see, that's where the tension came in, because they understood that a fully resourced, independent, black educational system, black communities, just being financed by our own money would be too damn powerful. And so when integration became unavoidable, white folk in their power shorts, they made a choice. Instead of fully funding black communities and allowing us to grow independently, they moved toward integration in a way that let them retain control over the money and the system. It wasn't some sudden embrace of equality. Oh yeah, we're gonna let them in. No, the shift in how authority over resources would be maintained. In practice, what that meant was, black schools were closed, because they wasn't gonna send them white folks over there to our schools and our neighborhoods. They closed the black schools. They fired the black teachers and the black principals. Okay, the communities lost that resource. You see what I'm saying? All right, and they got scholars that documented what happened. Okay, and they sent the black kids and the black talent over to the white schools. That's what happened. You got thousands of black educators who were displaced out of their districts. Okay, and so the story gets repeated. And see, here's the thing. We weren't chasing white spaces. We didn't want to be up next to them. We just we were demanding fair access to public goods funded by black tax dollars, and transportation and housing and jobs, and using integration as leverage to force that access when a separate system was not funded equally. You understand what I'm saying? Is it starting to make sense now? They literally use the threat of putting black bodies into white spaces as leverage in the negotiation. Either invest equally in black institutions, or we're gonna put our black bodies, our black sons and our black daughters over there with these precious white people, okay? And if you don't do it. And see, here's the cold part about it. I want you to listen to this. When that moment came, them white folks in charge, they showed exactly what mattered to them. Them rich white folk, it wasn't about keeping white people separate at all costs. It was about keeping control over the budgets, control over the buildings, control over who makes the decisions. Because once you fully fund black institutions, you're not just giving resources, you're giving independence, and you're giving power, and you're giving ability to operate without oversight. You're giving autonomy. You're giving us everything we need to succeed. But if you integrate everything into one system, you can still be white folk on top. You can say it's equal, but you still on top. You still calling the shots. You can still come up with other things. So they chose the option that let them keep their hands. I'm talking about the rich white folks. You poor whites don't count. I want all you poor white people to know you don't matter. Okay, the rich white people said, "Yeah, we'll just stay on charge. We'll bring some of them over here. They can run the football and play basketball. We'll make money off that on the back end." They didn't mind y'all sharing the space. It tells you everything about their priorities. Again, the elite rich white people, they will throw poor white people under the bus if they have to choose between them and this racial purity and giving up money and power. You see that? So when the decision makers who often had the means to send their own children to private school, right, and live in private neighborhoods with gates up, they supported the policies of change in the public schools. What it suggests is what their top priorities were. It lets you know how the system is really organized. You understand? Under no circumstances, shout out to Jimmy Trout, under no circumstances was they gonna give up control of this money, even if it was black tax dollars that were paid in by black people, They were not giving up money or control of these educational institutions. If that meant poor white kids had to sit in the classroom with all their brainwashed fear and hate and suffer the consequences of having to sit next to a black person, whoop-de-doo. Somebody type whoop-de-doo. Because see, at the end of the day, the rich white folk making decisions, they weren't sending their kids there anyway. Their children were in private schools and insulated from all of that. So the real priority wasn't about protecting poor white people from miscegenation or racial integration. They didn't give a damn. They still don't give a damn about you poor white people. The priority was holding on to control and money and who runs the institution and who makes a decision. That doesn't mean racism wasn't real. It clearly was, and it clearly is, but it does show you something deeper. Racism alone isn't the final decision maker. Money, power, and control is. And when those come into conflict with everything else, that's them white folk, them rich white folk are gonna choose to protect that over these poor white people anyway. And it just lets you know just how hollow racism is. So shout out to all the racist white supremacists who are looking at this. That's how much they really care about. That's how much your white brethren care about you. But anyway, I'm going to take the opportunity to read these super chats. We've been here for about 3 hours. Did you learn something? Did any of you all learn something? Did anyone learn anything? Were you educated on this particular day? Did you learn something you didn't know? I'm trying to let y'all go. I don't want to hold y'all here all day. Did you learn something? Did you learn something? I need to know. All right. And more importantly, you know what else we need? Let me say something. Hold on a minute. I need to talk because I'm gonna read these super chats. Read the super chats, but we gotta talk. Shout out to everybody who's contributed to super chat. I'm glad 15 people learned something. I wish more people had learned something, but we're not finished. But maybe some of you all will learn something. But again, I appreciate you guys. But before we get to this superstar, I need you all to make sure you hit the subscribe button if you hadn't already. I don't know if you all have. I have not had an opportunity to check and see if you hit the subscribe button, but I'm looking now. I'm going to look right now to see if you good people care about me enough to hit the subscribe button and help me, okay? Because at this point, it's about me. It's about me getting to 100,000 subscribers. And it's taking a long time. I'm just saying, I feel like I should be there by now as people. I need some more people to subscribe. I need approximately 66 people. Well, hold on. I need 63 people to subscribe to the channel right now, and that will get me to 95,000. Okay? I need 63 people to subscribe to the channel. Okay? I need 63 people. Somebody type 63 in the chat room. Chantel Smith, I need you to subscribe to the channel. Dwight Chair, I need you to subscribe to the channel. Okay, who else is in here? Jelena Taborn, I need all y'all to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Don't hate watch. Okay, don't have me up here forehead sweating, talking to you all about history, trying to make it interesting. I need all of y'all to subscribe to the channel right now. Don't play me. I'm not here for the games. I need my subscriptions to go up. I want a little gold plaque on my wall behind my head. Okay? Do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel. If you have already subscribed to the channel, double check, because YouTube plays these vicious games with me. I need 58 people to subscribe to the channel to get me where I need to be. Okay? 58. Somebody type 58. In addition to that, make sure you like, share, subscribe if you appreciate what I'm doing. Yes. Yeah, I lost you for a minute. Yes, y'all need to do that. Don't play with me. I'm not here for these silly YouTube games. Y'all need to do what you got to do. I'm going to talk some more. All right? But as I'm speaking, okay, I need you all to subscribe to the channel. All right? Let's go ahead. I'm going to proceed. Reed, I want to shout out to all the MVPs who contribute to the Super Chat and the Cash App and the PayPal. Matter of fact, we'll start off with the Cash App. The Cash App is this is how I get my haircut money. See, y'all want me to keep looking sharp. You want me to get that line up. Dude, put the little spray on and everything. Brought my hairline back. You know, Uncle D been fighting for his hairline for about 4 years now. I've been fighting to get this hairline back. but it ain't like it was in 95. I got some photographs. I had all kind of hair. My hairline was way down here. I'm like, damn, it's too much. I need to push it back a little bit. Not now. Not till I'm gonna get some super glue and glue the edge right here. See that? See that? They put some spray. Look at that. That's up a little high. You know, but I'm gonna keep doing. Shout out to the people who gave me Cash App, man. Big up to y'all. I hope y'all. I enjoy this. I enjoy the mess. Little angry white girl got on the internet to try to tell. I'm gonna tell you back. I got something to tell you, miss. Don't come in here talking to us like that. Shout out to Miss Contrail Smith. Thank you so much. Had no high school education. Thank you, baby. Hakeem, what's up, Hakeem? Child, appreciate you, family. Anna Brown, that's a good name. I like that name. And also Cantrell Smith came back. Zayd Story, 803CK007, South Carolina. Sherry Johnson, Reggie Banks, Robert Williamson, Clara Freshly, Pamela Hyman, James White. Y'all did that, man. Y'all really came through with the super chat. Now let's read these cash apps. I mean, let's read these super chat. That was a cash app. Super sticker. Good looking out. Melsina Blanton. That's a good name. Thank you for that. Passport King, single mother rate in white, black, 600,000. 600,000. Type 600,000 single white mothers every year. You white men need to control your penises. Japan also has a huge problem with runaways. We talked earlier, you guys who weren't here. Japan has a huge single mother problem that nobody talks about. They just make you think it's a black people problem. Mark Freelance gifted one Dennis Spurling podcast membership. That's my man. Appreciate you, brother. Good looking out. Oh, let me see. Ooh, baby girl. I don't know. I'm just say Kalani. Baby, you got too many words in there for me. I can't see all that, man. But thank you for the gift, Kalani. I appreciate you, baby. This is call y'all. I'm mad only because my prom wasn't this fly. Me too. Are you kidding me? I'm trying to live like that too. Them kids is popping and rolling that. What's up? Riding around in Bentleys. Curly Locks. We used to get limousines. Shout out to Curly Locks, 2129 Shalom. Y'all Blizzard King, why they care? I know, why do they even care? Big shout out to Faye Quan. Thank you for the $5 super sticker. Faye Quan, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Also, Alonzo Dunn. The caucasity. Isn't that something? Yeah, the caucasity. I mean, did you see her? I mean, she was bold with it. Look at this with just getting all in our business for no reason at all. Why are you here?
Lies is hood prom and baby mama culture are like this. You can't have.
Get on up out of here. See what I mean? Just imagine. Why are you all in our business? See, when we get in their business, then they don't want to hear about it. Shout out to Fiquan. Thank you so much. Also, JR the Real. We got 27 super chats. That's doing great. If we get through three more, that'll be awesome. Y'all see if y'all can get that. But only if you learn something. You don't owe me anything. JR the Real Hill, Preacher, Kirk Franklin Voice. Thank you so much, brother. Alonzo Dunn, FBA still value our women after the age of 50. They don't turn into Karens. Not the loneliest person in America. Yeah, black women cook good. That's the other thing you gotta do. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Black women always are helpful. Most of us loved our grandmothers. Most of our grandmothers was well up over their 50s when we came to realize who they were. That's not what we do. That's not part of our culture. We don't just throw our people away like that. You see what I mean? It's just different. But anyway, shout out to Faquan. Good point, Alonzo. Thank you, Faquan, for the super sticker. A few Quan for the super sticker. Crook 6218, father and son moment. Yeah, shout out to the Crimson Sun. Let me see. Thank you so much again for the super. Big J, let's see what he said. Let me know, D. Most of these people that disrespects us are new people. They just got here in the last decade, but they don't understand our culture and our history in this country. We endured a lot and have blood on the soil. Yeah, man. I mean, just a little 3-hour conversation that we had. Tell the truth, even if you didn't contribute to anything. Did you learn something new about foundational Black American culture? I mean, most of you all don't understand. Why do we celebrate somebody getting out of prison? You didn't put it together, did you? Why do we celebrate a prom? Why? I mean, you could understand why people would celebrate a quinceañera. That's what's important to their culture. And this is what's important now. But then when you start really understanding what culture is, it starts to make sense. Any of you all who really learned something today, like, damn, I didn't even know that. Even about the civil rights, what the real motive behind the civil rights. Don't that sound like our people? Either y'all gonna give us our money or we're gonna sit our black asses next to you white folks. And then why you see that? That sounds like our people. That's what's oh, they don't like us? Oh, well, let's go sit over there next to them. I had an Uncle Slim, and my Uncle Slim, I always talk about Uncle Slim. Shout out to Uncle Slim. Somebody type Mexican Mary in the chat room. I'm gonna go talk to him when I get out there. You guys saw the other night, Mexican Mary. And I got to talk. I got to get that out. I got to know. But I got to get over. He's getting old, so I got to ask him. But Uncle Slim used to work with a lot of professionals in Beverly Hills, and they would have to pay him on a regular basis. And sometimes when they would go start dodging his phone calls, Uncle Slim would just say, well, I'm just gonna go up here and sit in the office. And he wouldn't just go by himself. He would take his homeboys from the east side with him up to these he would go from the east side in the Cadillac, and they would be deep. They'll be up in Beverly Hills on Wilshire Boulevard, and they would be sitting in these white folks' office. Let me show you a picture. This is what Uncle Slim used to look like. That's Uncle Slim to the far right. So they'll be going up there dealing with them white folks, and white folks supposed to pay him his money, and him and his homeboys would go sit up in that office, because the white, oh, he's not in, right? He's busy. And so, like, okay, after a couple of days, they'll just ride up there in they brohams and they Cadillacs. They get up there and they go sit in the office. And who are you waiting for? Yeah, we're waiting for Attorney Bob or Dr. John. Well, he's not in today. Well, we'll just sit here. We're gonna wait. So you imagine that you got this nice, clean office in Beverly Hills, and you got these black dudes from the east side of LA sitting in your office. Of course, he got his check because he realized that you can control white people by your presence. If you ever wanted to take over a white neighborhood, just move in. Just move in. They're gonna leave. If you move, there was actually a real estate agent. I don't know if it was in Chicago or New York, but he realized that if he moved black people in the community, the property value would drop, and he could move more black people in. And the white people would quickly sell. You understand what I'm saying? So it's the same. It's something we've been doing. Anytime black folk move in, they move out. It makes it unlivable for white people. It goes back to what I was explaining to you all before. White people base their success on how bad black people are doing. And what is the high point of your success? Your home. Your home is your success. So if you have black people living next to you in your home, that means I'm unsuccessful now, because if black people can afford to be here, then I'm underperforming. And so it's the same rationale that our civil rights leaders use. They say, okay, y'all don't want to give us our money. We're going to move. We're going to change the law, and we're going to go sit over there next to y'all in y'all little white schools. Our little black sons and all those sexual epithets and racial stereotypes, we're going to be sitting next to Lillian and Mary Jean. And one of them going to experiment. Okay, that's what they did. So I love our people. And if you understand just how comical and hilarious and intrusive black people can be, then you will. If you ever wanted to clear out a restaurant, put a bunch of black folk in the middle of the restaurant and let them start talking loud. It'll be a black restaurant before the end of the month. All the white folk will stop coming. We understand everything about this country has been based around black people. The legal system, where you think due process came from? Where you think it was perfected? White folks spend millions of dollars on real estate and apartments every year just so they don't have to live next to black people. They could drive up the price of a location if it doesn't have black people in it. You understand me? I mean, look. Man, you can get money. You can get funding for the judicial system. You can get funding for education. You can have some of the best schools in the country. If you just say no black people live here, white people will pay to go live there. You understand? And so that's the same thing, Uncle Slim. You're gonna have to pay me to leave or not show up. If you don't give me my money, I'm coming down to your office, Mr. White Man, on Wilshire Boulevard in Beverly Hills, And me and my homeboys from the east side gonna be sitting in your nice, clean, lily white office. And when them other white folk come into your office, they're gonna say, oh, hell, we can't come here anymore. And you're gonna lose business. And that's our people, man. I'm the same with the swimming pool. Man, when you learn how to manipulate white people with their own racism, it's just hilarious. I'm telling you, man. I'm gonna say this and we're gonna get back to work. His name was Dr. Benny Miles. He was a frat brother of mine, very inspirational to me. He ran the biology department at Grambling State University. He's the reason I actually went to law school. The truth is, he said, Dennis, you're a solid B student. And I was proud, like, yeah, solid B student, because like everybody, I wanted to be a doctor. But I had a pretty good grade. I was a solid B student, somebody typed solid B. Uncle D was a solid B student at Grambling State University. I feel proud. He said, yeah, but and I was like, yeah, I'm a solid B student. And he baited me in, and black educator, old school brother. He said, but people don't want B doctors operating on them. I was like, yeah. And then, he immediately said, but Southern University has a law school. Isn't your father a lawyer? I'm like, yeah. Okay. And at that moment, I think that was 1995. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll go to law school. So I applied to law school. Next thing, because he also pointed out, you do like to argue in class about, environmental science. I argue with black women all the day. Look, you can talk to all them black women at my Grambling State. I ain't never be quiet. Nope, I'm gonna say what I want to say. And I had my big old self in the front of the class too, coming in there in the front of the class arguing. So I wasn't trying to be. I was a little ornery back there. I mean, I was cute. The ladies would tell you I was handsome and everything. I just wasn't cooperating. I was just a bad little light-skinned red boy that didn't cooperate. You see what I'm saying? This is me in college. That's me in the middle in the back. You see Dr. Khalid Muhammad up there in the back. This is at Grambling State University. That's me way in the back. You can see. Can y'all see me? That's Dr. Khalid Muhammad right there to the right, the members of the Nation of Islam Student Association. I was a member of the Nation of Islam Student Association, still a Christian, but I always appreciate the brothers. And this is the United African American Men Organization. And there's a couple of brothers in there from Alpha Phi Alpha. They were real active. We were a little, we were on our ding back in the day. But yeah, that's Uncle D. See how tall I was? Can y'all see me? I was handsome, but I was just ornery. I just would not cooperate. Uncle D was just not. But yeah, I was a solid B student, and I ended up going to law school because he said nobody wants a B doctor operating on them. So I took my butt to law school, graduated, got a perfect score on the bar examination, and here I am fussing at the internet. But shout out to Dr. Benny Miles, man. Shout out to him, man. That's why it's important to have black educators. They can you can't take that from a white man. A white man say some shit like that. It's like, that's racism. You can't say it. But what can you say what Dr. Miles said? But he was one of the reasons I ended up pledging Alpha Phi Alpha, because I was so impressed by the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha, how they carried themselves, were dignified, very educated. I like that. Shout out to all the other fraternities, but every man has somebody type solid B student in the chat room. But that's how I ended up there. But he was telling me this story of how when he was doing graduate school, he went to this white school. I don't know if it was Utah or whatever. He said, but he wanted the pool to himself. So he just hopped in the pool and all the white people left. And I was like, wow, so this is something that's repeated. Our people knew that all they had to do was show up and be them normal selves, and white folk would leave. And so it makes sense that same rationale would apply when we're dealing with civil rights. Unless you give us our money and spend our money on us, we're going to come sit in your facilities. And it worked. But anyway, man, shout out to everybody for listening to that story. We are saying and learning, Uncle D. Thank you so much, Yaya. And I also talk about that in my books. If you want a copy of my books, I have a few left. You can hit me up at spurlingdennis@gmail.com. And that's floating across the bottom. And you can also call my office at 713-229-0770. It's a 3-part book. And I talk about a lot of the cultural issues that we deal with. But that's my office number. And also, if you've been in a car accident, feel free to give me a call. But anyway, let's get back to these super chats, man. I don't want y'all to be here all day with me messing around listening to these old stories from way back when. Even though it's funny as hell, even talking about it now. But shout out to Mr. JT Coins Ring. Thank you so much. Salute all. Shout out to B Hunter the Spot. Thank you for the 99-cent super sticker. Bar exam was created to keep black men from being lawyers, and it didn't work. You know, that's the other thing, because you used to be able to just learn from another lawyer and become a lawyer. So you are right about that. Gen X, first gen, fully free. Wow, I know, isn't that crazy, man? Wow. So you looking at history. When you look at a Generation X, you looking at history. Big J said, you cooking, fam. These immigrants don't understand our history, and white folks seem to have caught amnesia. They know. That's why I told y'all from the onset. I don't explain black history to white people, and I don't explain racism to white people. I really don't. I will give Latinos and Asians and Africans and all people of color the benefit of the doubt, because they didn't invent the system. Okay, I will try to explain to them. I may be harsh, but largely my issues with immigrants, especially African and Caribbean immigrants, has a lot to do with the fact that I am disappointed in them. I'm very disappointed in black immigrants. Very, very, very disappointed in our brothers and sisters from the motherland and the Caribbean, especially black folk from the Caribbean. Y'all should know better. We have the very same transatlantic slave history. Y'all just got off the ship a couple of weeks before we did. And so you all should know better to come over here and be triple teaming and double teaming and teaming up with white folk against us, especially you Jamaicans, as horrible as you were treated in Jamaica. How dare you come up here and disrespect us and talk about we lazy? They say the same thing. The Chinese are saying the same thing about Jamaicans right now. Y'all tripping. But I'm going to keep giving y'all that work till y'all fall in line. But shout out to you, Big J. But yeah, but white folk know what they doing. The Roger Report, free at last, free at last. It took until 1965, free at last. Good looking out, fam. Thank you so much, Roger Report. Always good to see you. Jimmy Trice, thank you for the $10. Also, Mama Made 2433. I learned something. I know you did. Thank you so much, baby. Also, Chak Joe C0. Thank you for the $19.99. Also, Sleepy J 2111, good looking out. White folk are all in the Kool-Aid and don't know the flavor. They really don't. But anyway, man, that concludes all the super chats. Let's go ahead. And get this thing wrapped up. I want you guys to did you learn something? Did you appreciate it? I got a little bit more, and then we're gonna ease up out of here. I hope y'all appreciate the ad libs and the stories. Shout out to Croy S. I can't say it. CRO C Royce 860. Thank you for the $20 super sticker too. Good looking out, family. I appreciate you. We got 29 super chats. We almost there. We get one more. That'd be great, but we'll see. You don't owe me anything. I want y'all to understand. Y'all don't owe me nothing. I appreciate what I'm doing. This is part of my legacy. It's bigger than me. You see what I'm saying? Because this information, you guys are gonna chop this up and spread it around. And you know, the fact that you learned today that black women are not the biggest progenitor of single or foundational black American women aren't the #1 baby mamas in America. White women are, but you never hear about that, right? Right? But anyway, family, let's go ahead and close with clarity. The reason this entire conversation started is because of this young lady right here, okay?
The other. What people fail to realize is hood prom and baby mama culture are like this. You can't have one without the other. You can't have hood prom or the baby shower stuff or the gender reveals or anything like that without baby mama culture. Because the reason why the dresses are so extravagant in the cars and the show and the presentation is because this is the closest these girls will ever get to being a bride. In the black community, I'm sorry to say it, actually, no, I'm not, because it's the truth, especially in lower income households, there's not as much of an emphasis on family anymore. These kids aren't getting married. They're going to be baby mamas and baby daddies, so they're never going to have a wedding. These girls are never going to walk down the aisle. Some of them probably will.
Now, I want you to notice something before I get it. You notice how when she kind of caught herself when she said lower income households? As an attorney, I can tell you the reason she caught herself like that is because she comes from a lower income household. You understand what I'm saying? That's where she's coming from. She comes from a lower income household. She can't afford to do the things she's complaining that black people shouldn't do. And that's the problem. Psychology tells you a lot. body movement tells you a lot of the way people's eyes move. That's where it comes from. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and close this with clarity. The reason this entire conversation started is because that little white lady decided to look at Black American culture, specifically foundational Black American culture, a specific celebration, and explain it to us like she was some kind of expert. She saw young Black people dressed beautifully, families showing up, communities gathering, cameras rolling, cars pulling up. Instead of seeing pride, effort, ceremony, and joy, she called it hood prom in a derogatory way. She tried to put a diagnosis as though it was dysfunction. And that's not the issue. Not prom, not dresses, not send-offs, not money. The issue is jealousy of outsiders who keep walking into Black American life, purposely misinterpreting what they're looking at, and then trying to teach us what our own culture means. She wasn't asking questions. She wasn't assigning motives, taking Black visibility and reframing it as if it was pathology. That's all she was doing. So let's explain what Black American culture actually is. Foundational Black American culture is not some accidental collection of slang, music, food, clothes, dances, and celebrations. It is a survival system. Culture, properly understood, is not just about aesthetics. It's accumulated intelligence of a whole group of people over time. It's how a group remembers. It's how you adapt. It's how you protect. It's how you organize. It's how you transmit values from one generation to the next. It's disciplined behaviors. It's how you absorb trauma so you can keep pushing. It's how you convert suffering into identity. Culture is a protective mechanism for a people. It's a strategic framework. It is a survival blueprint. It's a system that gives people cohesion, distinction, institutions, and competitive longevity in a hostile environment like the one we had to develop in this racial caste system here in the United States. And that's the key. See, Black American culture was not created in a comfortable zone. It wasn't engineered. It was engineered under pressure. It came out of enslavement. It came out of degradation, and it came out of Jim Crow laws. It came out of racial terrorism. It came from convict leasing, and where people could be snatched up and thrown away in prison. Same thing you see happening right now. It came from redlining and segregated schools. It came from underfunded neighborhoods. It came from mass incarceration. It came from constant exclusion and constant surveillance. And that means when outsiders look at Black American culture, specifically foundational Black American culture, they may want to reduce it to being ghetto, or loud, or excessive, or irresponsible. But that's because they're not doing an analysis. They're revealing their ignorance. Soul food, for example, is not just food, was it? It's the memory of scarcity. It's the memory of scraps, chicken feet, hog maws, pigtail, chitlins, which is the inner guts of a pig, collard greens. These are the leftovers. This is a throwaway. This is the refuse. It was given to Black people, and we created cuisine with it. We had ritual, we had flavor, we had community, we had continuity. Black music wasn't just entertainment. Why you think they call it soul? Black music is an oral archive of our people, our spirituals, our blues, our gospel, our jazz, our soul, our rock and roll, our R&B, our hip hop. It's grief turned into sound. It's protest turned into rhythm. It's memory turned into a global language. Black fashion is not vanity. It's an aesthetic. It's resistance. It's taking what the world marks as poor, as Southern, as working class, or as disposable, and imposing beauty status and swag on it. Black church, not just church, is it? It was a command center. It was a schoolhouse. It was a political base. It was a communications network and the moral engine of our liberation, family. How we talk, or what they call African-American vernacular English or slang or whatever, Ebonics, man. They try to dismiss it as ignorance. It's a code. It's rhythm, it's humor, it's compression, it's double meaning, it's social intelligence, it's cultural memory. You understand? That's not random expressions. These are survival technologies. This is how we survive. That's why hood prom matters. Prom in this context is not merely a dance. It's not merely an event sponsored by the school. It's public recognition of completion. It's a community saying, baby, you made it. And that matters because Black people were once legally denied literacy. We were denied equal schooling. We denied full access to public education. And then underfunded even when the schools existed. So when a Black child reaches the end of that high school, that celebration, it carries historical weight. It's not just fabric and makeup, cars and photos and music. It's people celebrating access to education after generations of exclusion. Let me remind you that Generation X is the first fully free Black generation that this country has ever had. We are still fresh out of oppression. So you see a family celebrating survival through a system that was never designed to treat our children as precious. It's a public reward to inspire other Black children to want to prom for themselves, to inspire them to graduate from high school. So the outfits matter. The send-offs matter. The community shows up because the celebration is not just about looking good. It's about recognizing what's good for us as a people and what it took to get there. It inspires other parents to stick with it. Keep supporting your child. Keep waking them up at 6:30 in the morning. Keep making them do their homework. It's hard. You know that? All the parents out there waking children up, getting them out to bed, making sure they have clothes and being here on time and being there and going to those functions and showing them support. That also inspires inspires parents because they get to say, well, one day my son or daughter is going to be at the prom and I can be the parent standing next to him. But see, here's the thing, that's what culture does. That's a culture that is functional and it has its priorities straight. We reward education. We reward freedom. And the same logic applies across Black American life. When Black families celebrate someone coming home from prison, outsiders, you see that as prison. Like, that dude got an armed robbery charge. He's been locked down 15 years. But see, Black people understand the weight of freedom in a country where the criminal justice system has historically been used to control Black codes, Black bodies through Black codes, whether we talk about slavery, to the convict leasing, to vagrancy laws, to mass incarceration. When Black people hold homecoming services, even funerals, people from the outside think, oh man, the funeral shouldn't be joyful. This is disrespectful to the dead. But Black people understand that mourning and the celebration can coexist because death, suffering, and endurance and faith and release have always been linked to our historical consciousness. Death does not represent punishment. For people who came up out of slavery where they had to deal with abuse day in and day out, and mental abuse and social abuse and sexual abuse and degradation, death represents freedom. That's why it was celebratory. When Black people hold cookouts, we ain't seen our families in years. There's some people you ain't seen since the 1980s and 90s. The music is loud. We barbecuing. Our families were once sold apart leased apart, had forced to migrate apart to escape the Jim Crow South, incarcerated apart, and still found ways to gather, remember, and reconnect and rebuild. These celebrations aren't evidence of a broken value system. They're evidence of a historically informed one. So when someone from the outside of the culture looks at all of that and says, well, why are they doing this? The answer is simple. Because it belongs to us. Because it means something to us. Because we don't need permission to celebrate our milestones, and we don't need permission to celebrate in our own language, with our own style, and our own cultural framework. The problem is not that Black people celebrate. The problem is that Black joy makes bigots uncomfortable when it refuses to be small and quiet and apologetic or easy to control. What are y'all celebrating for? We doing everything we can to keep y'all down. See, Black celebration gets reframed as a problem because some people can't process Black joy as joy. A prom becomes a hood prom, or a ghetto prom is really what they want to say. A graduation becomes wasted priorities. A homecoming becomes glorifying the wrong things. A funeral becomes too celebratory. A cookout becomes ghetto. And the event is not the issue. The interpretation is the issue. That's why we have such joyous celebrations in the Black church. That's why we're singing and dancing and jumping and shouting and clapping and testifying and crying and laughing and dressing up in our best clothes. It wasn't just about emotion, but white folk don't understand that. This wasn't about theatrics. You know what Sunday represented during slavery? Huh? Sunday, what does Sunday represent during slavery? It represented your day off. That's what it represented. During slavery, even well after slavery, Sunday was the only day Black people had any real break from labor. It only time they could kind of get away from white folk. So the church became more than worship. It became a release. It was like a vacation. It was the one place where we could stand up and be upright. We could speak as loud as we want. We can sing. We can move our bodies. We could express our pain, and we were doing it in the name of the Lord. But Master didn't see that, but we were releasing. You understand? You know how good it is to shout. You got white people paying somebody so they can go shout in the woods and liberate white with just screaming at trees. You see that? You see these video of white women just screaming at trees, screaming at trees. You understand? The music, the call and response, being Black folk able to get together more than one at a time. They wouldn't even let us congregate more than 2 people at a time. So now we all could get together with our whole family and call and response, the whole people, shouting and dressing up, feeling good. You see? This was us taking a small window of time and turning it into a full cultural sanctuary. And for people denied control over their own bodies and their own labor and their own families and their own future, Sunday worship became a place where we could reclaim dignity and beauty and emotion and community and our humanity. And the singing and the jumping and the shouting and the hollering was not just random. It was a release of all that stress and fear and grief and pressure and anxiety people had carried all week. It was also preparation for the coming days because it wasn't going to get no easier Monday. They had to go back out there in them fields and back out there with that white man on the horse with the damn whip. Back out there. Pulling hundreds of pound labor. This is back out there. Church gave them strength. Church refilled them. Church reminded them that they were human beings and still loved and still connected and still alive. It wasn't just church. It was a freedom practice. And see, you can't understand Black culture by standing on the outside. Because see, from the outside, somebody might see people dressing up for church. Why are they dressed like that? Why are they over there singing loud and shouting and crying and dancing and thinking, oh, that's just emotion or a performance. But from the inside of the culture, you understand the history behind it. The gathering itself was freedom, even if only for a few hours. And that's why outsiders misread things like hood prom, which they want to call ghetto prom, or black funerals, or the cookouts, or the church services, or the homecomings from prison, or why we see they see expression. And I'm gonna let y'all go soon. I know I'm long with it, but this is important. Okay, they see us and how we express ourselves, but they don't understand the history that created it. They can't feel the history. They don't have that soul. It's not written in their DNA like it is ours. And when you don't understand that history, you end up calling what you perceive to be a culture as dysfunctional. And then there's the deeper cultural question. Where did that Black American culture come from? And I've gone over this over and over again. Where did it come from? It came from a forced separation from Africa. Forced proximity to a racial caste system here in America, both in the North and the South, and the West, everywhere. Forced adaptation under anti-Black racism and a power structure that wanted to exploit and use us. See, foundation, I want to be clear with something. I want y'all to understand something. Foundational Black American culture is a distinct culture. It's a distinct people. We had our ethnogenesis here. We are an amalgamation of many different ethnicities or racial phenotypes. We can go from my color to pitch black and still have the same foundational Black American ethnicity or lineage. See, it's not this. What this is not. It's not simply African culture preserved intact. It's not a defective version of African culture either. Nor is it an offshoot of African culture. Nor is it an offshoot of white culture. It is a new world culture formed in America under American racial conditions, in an American environment, American cultural environment, because of a uniquely American struggle. Many behaviors associated with Black Americans were shaped not by biology, not by some pure African inheritance, but by environment, by class, region, Southern culture, and historical proximity to poor white people, even. The important point is this: culture is not race and behavior. It's not blood. Culture is learned. Culture evolves. Culture adapts. Black Americans were stripped of whatever tribe we were, language, homeland, kinship system, and we still created a culture powerful enough to shape the modern world. That's why the insult that we have no culture collapses under its own ignorance. FBA, foundational Black Americans don't lack culture. We created one of the most influential cultures on the earth that produced things like jazz and blues and gospel and rock and roll and R&B and hip hop and streetwear and sneaker culture and African African American vernacular speech. We create the whole civil rights movement, how to deal with oppression. We create a language. We came up with protest strategies that are copied. Black church politics, soul food, comedy, dance, athletic style, global cool, global swagger, global masculinity, global femininity. All of that has our thumbprint on it. It has our DNA print on it, our DNA embedded in it. People all across the world imitate the sound, the walk, the language, the rhythm, the clothes, the jokes, the confidence, the pain, the joy. They imitated in Tokyo, London, Lagos, Paris, Toronto, Seoul, Johannesburg, Sao Paulo, everywhere. But then they turn around and pretend not to know where it came from. And this is why we have to be careful with these outsiders who claim expertise over Black American life. Whether it's a white TikToker commenting on what she perceives to be a hood prom and what's dysfunctional, or an African or Caribbean immigrant or African American even, one of these teachers at these Ivy League universities criticizing foundational Black American culture. They don't know. They wouldn't know. They didn't grow up in the culture. Even there's a lot of FBA that don't know. They so far removed from foundational Black American culture. People moved to Chicago or Detroit or New York back in the 1950s and 60s. They ain't been down here. They don't know. They don't even have relatives that they got a little white girlfriend and they don't know. Their mama white, daddy white, whatever. They don't know. But yet they're teaching in these universities. They're on the internet proclaiming that they do know. They don't know the culture. Because see, there's plenty of people who say we don't have a culture, along with these online critics and these so-called academics. They even talk about how dysfunctional it is. And the pattern is the same. They want access to the culture without accountability to the people who made it. They want the music, they want the history, they want the slang without the struggle, they want to dissect it, they want to write books about it, they want to make stories about it, movies about it. They want the style without the scars. They want the creativity without the context. They want to mock it while it's Black and then rename it when it becomes profitable. And then sell it back to the world as something they discovered. They mock it, they shame it, they rename it, they steal it, they profit from it. It's the same game repeated over and over again. Let me say this, man. Let me say this very clearly. Leave Black people alone. Let me say that again. Leave Black people alone. And that's not saying Black culture can't be studied. That's not saying Black culture is beyond critique. We have our issues. And I'm not saying that Black people are perfect, but because you need to leave us alone because you're not qualified to enter into a culture you don't understand while ignoring the conditions that produced it. You're not allowed to strip it of its history and then pronounce yourself qualified to diagnose it. You're not qualified to look at our survival rituals and call them pathological. You're not qualified to look at joy and call it irresponsibility. You are not qualified to look at a community celebrating a child's milestone and pretend you're seeing cultural collapse. What you're seeing is people who were never supposed to make it, making it anyway. So foundational Black American culture is the culture of people who had to build family after family separation. We had faith after spiritual violence. We had music after forced silence, education after anti-literacy laws, beauty after dehumanization, humor after trauma, institutions after exclusion, and joy after centuries of being told joy was not ours to claim. That's not primitive. It's not random. And it damn sure ain't just hood. It is sophisticated because it had to be. It's expressive because silence was imposed on us. It is loud because erasure required that we speak up very loud and these people gonna get rid of us. It's stylish because dignity had to be asserted publicly. It is communal because isolation was used as a weapon against us. It's celebratory because survival itself became sacred. So the people who keep trying to explain back to us who we are to ourselves, stop. Study before you speak, or don't study at all. Listen before you judge, or just shut up. Learn the history before you diagnose the behavior. And if you can't do that, then simply leave Black people alone. Leave our children alone. Leave our celebrations alone. Leave our men alone. Leave our women alone. Leave our culture alone, because what you call excess, we know as memory. What you call dysfunction, we know as adaptation. What you call a hood prom, we know as a young person standing at the edge of adulthood, surrounded by family covered in style, carrying the weight of ancestors who were denied their very education. That child is now completing. And that's not a problem. That's Black culture doing exactly what it was built to do: survive, affirm, protect, remember, adapt, and win. This is Uncle D, and as I always said this time, I'm out.
In the Spurling podcast, hit the like button, subscribe.